What up, what up, what up? You were live and direct on Petty Sports, the podcast brought to you by Kings Broadcasting Studios. It's your boy, the host, Famous Fees. They call me Facts. I'm just glad to be back, man.
I know it.
It's all bad, man. My man Adam, holla at these folks.
What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? Petty Sports, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Beautiful weather here in Atlanta, Georgia. Insane sports moves all around the state. The NFL's not even the same, guys, and we've literally only missed a full 14 days since we were live in studio. Fees, we have no time to waste. Guys, if you call in tonight, you got 60 seconds. Check the social. Hop in the comments like you always do. Fees, get us rolling with the lineup tonight, bro. It is way too much to dive into.
Man, the lineup is off the chain. You already know it's NFL. It's been trades, free agency moves. March Madness is actually still going on.
Right.
But, man, all these trades, like, we going to go through all of that. We actually got another hot versus battle for y'all one more time. Allen Iverson versus Kyrie Irving. That's going to be a good one. Y'all stay tuned for that thing. So, man, it's going to be NFL sprinkled in through and through. But I tried to give y'all some basketball, but then the NFL just was like, nah, it ain't want me to. Next week, I promise. We'll get back to some NFL. But, man, off the top, Tyreek Hill, the major news of the day. Tyreek Hill, they call him the Cheetah, has been traded officially to the Miami Dolphins for 5 draft picks. Massive haul. They got a 2022 first rounder, a second rounder, a fourth rounder, and then a 2023 fourth and a sixth rounder. Then signed a 4-year, $120 million extension.
$30 million a year.
With $72.7 million guaranteed. Massive wide receiver money.
A fourth of what Deshaun Watson was guaranteed, right? A third, I guess. Jeez, this market is nuts, dude. Yep. I can't even.
So what does this blockbuster trade mean for both the Dolphins and the Chiefs?
Oh, this is definitely a lot to unpackage as we, got into the lineup today. Just another move from the NFL to absolutely blow our socks off. So let's start with the side of the Dolphins. So, I think the Dolphins are heading down the right path, but they're not necessarily in the right vehicle at the moment. I don't think they have the core of an explosive offense. Talking about the quarterback, we know that. Respect the Teddy Bridgewater move, but he's not going to be a franchise guy. He doesn't have a big arm to deliver to a Tyreek Hill that you just paid $30 million a year to, or deliver to a Jalen Waddle, who are probably, those two guys respectively are the first and second best wide receivers in the NFL. And like I said, as much as I love Tua, he's not going to get that type of shot. Even if he was getting that shot, he's not that deep ball type of thrower right now for the Miami Dolphins. So it's great that you're on this path. They're realizing the AFC unfolding in front of them. The NFL right now is nuts. I mean, everybody's making moves. Everyone's got collateral right now. It is time to either literally the rich get richer or the poor get poor. There will be no middle class in the NFL, really from this season on. And again, it's great that you have Hill and Jalen Waddle, no doubt about that, but who is actually going to deliver the football? I just got to hope that Tyreek Hill's obviously career situation doesn't end up like a Dry Arch or like a John Ross, and oddly enough, people don't realize this. Yes, speed is the most valuable trait in the NFL, right? But when you have elite speed like that, it's got to be calculated. It's got to be schemed in perfectly, because we've seen guys that have blazing speed. We talked about one of their receivers improving his draft stock. Just because you blaze down the field doesn't mean you run Chris Rouse, doesn't mean you have great hands, doesn't mean your football IQ is there. So I just have to hope that, taking a step back with offensive line, with culture, with quarterback play, that Tyreek Hill still remains that cheetah, that superstar, that one play touchdown guy essentially right now on the field. But in terms of the Chiefs, before I hand it over to you, Fees, this is what happens when you pay a quarterback $30 to $40 million a year. Do we realize that in 2027, Patrick Mahomes will cost the Kansas City Chiefs between roster bonus and base salary $60 million a year? And I've been saying it. Travis Kelce is the core of that offense. Love Tyreek Hill, and a lot of people are probably going to freak out right now. How do you not say Tyreek Hill is the guy? So much runs through him, but if you look at Kelce, he's more clutch. He's got better hands. He's clearly more physical. He is more consistent when it comes down to that Chiefs offense. We see it every year also in the draft. We got Mecole Hardman coming in. Juju just signed it, which kind of prefaced this move, so could have told us, hey, Tyreek's on the way out. But every year in the draft, 15 to 20 wide receivers, every single year in the draft. So they're going to have to develop Mecole. Hopefully Juju was a good signing. I'm confident about it, but they're probably going to spend a couple of these picks on pass catchers and maybe go for a corner of safety, maybe go for a linebacker. But for all the people that were saying this Chiefs dynasty was here, this is why we say it's the NFL. It's not for long. Happy for Tyreek. Great payday, but I think your career is going to take a massive step back. And are the Dolphins really better after this? Let's ask that serious question.
Wow, that's some serious disrespect for the actual move that they just made. I mean, Tyreek Hill has been in the league for 6 years and made 6 Pro Bowls with the Chiefs, and that dates back before he played with Patrick Mahomes.
Alex Smith days.
He was making Pro Bowls with Alex Smith. I mean, the Miami Dolphins absolutely got better. I think this moves them to the second place in the AFC East. I mean, that's the AFC being so loaded, it still might be extremely difficult to make the playoffs even at second place. If you don't win the division and you're not in the West or the North, you still are going to have a hard time getting in the playoffs. But outside of that, I mean, last year Miami was 25th in the league in total offense, 17th in passing. This is absolutely going to propel them. I mean, 17th isn't just disgusting. They were pretty much middle of the road. And that was with Jalen Waddle, who actually, I mean, he went over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns last year, and that was with Tua out there just throwing to him. He was fresh off of injury. I mean, with Waddle and Tyreek Hill together, this is easily the most explosive duo in the NFL. Got to be the fastest, hands down.
Yeah.
No team has 2 guys on their team that fast. I mean, we saw spurts from Jalen Waddle all the last season where he was showing like he was looking kind of like a Tyreek Hill 2.0, but now you put him on the field with Tyreek, that just opens the offense up for everybody. Still got Devonte Parker, still got Mike Gesicki, and I mean now you added Teron Armstead and Chase Edmonds. This actually made life easier for everyone because they made significant upgrades in all the places they needed to, along with bringing in Teddy as an insurance policy just in case Tua has some type of a meltdown. I mean, Tua he's not been panning out to what it was that he was expected to be, but he hasn't been terrible. I mean, now he's got all the pieces available. He got a top-flight offensive lineman to protect him. It's up to him to make it happen. But, I mean, they weren't terrible last season. So now moving forward, they're absolutely in the wild card mix. I mean, that's an upgrade for the Miami Dolphins. Like, people are in the chat talking about they can't win a Super Bowl. No one said they were winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
They're improving. I think the team absolutely got better. I mean, that's the idea. Like, one step at a time. There's not many teams that make one acquisition and win a Super Bowl. I mean, outside of the recent, since we've seen the formula is Brady into Tampa, Super Bowl, Stafford into L.A., Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This isn't quite that.
Right.
He's not a quarterback. They weren't a Super Bowl ready roster.
Yeah.
But they absolutely got better.
I just don't know if I can honestly say they got better because it's like when you go and buy the nice car, you want to be able to drive it every day, right? But if it's only going to run you 10,000 miles after you drive it on the lot, that's kind of where I run into the problem because Teddy's not going to deliver that ball. Maybe he'll throw it 25, 30 yards down the field. He's not 40, 50, 60 yards like Waddle and Tyreek Hill are going to be lined up for. I'm happy for Tyreek. I love the move, but I just don't see how it translates into big explosive play. Matt Ryan with the Dolphins, yeah, I would buy it. I will 100% buy the wide receiver duo, but not with Tua or Teddy Bridgewater behind it. I can't get behind it.
A lot of people put way too much stock into a quarterback being able to throw the ball 60, 70 yards down the field. If you've got a guy that fast, he was open 15 yards down the field. That's a timing issue. If you get the ball out early enough because you know he's open, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you've seen that time and time again. Who led the league in air yards thrown last year?
I have no idea.
Tom Brady. Strongest arm in the league? Absolutely not. What about who had the most?
I'd say top 5 arm strength.
Who had the most deep ball completions in the league last year? Joe
Educate me
Burrow.
again. Big arm.
Joe Burrow does not have a big arm.
What? Oh, you did not, Fees. Come on,
He doesn't have
bro.
one of these explosive Josh Allen arms.
Yeah, he's not Josh Allen
He's
or
not
Patrick
throwing
Mahomes.
60-yard bombs. He's throwing the ball to Chase, and Chase is making it happen. But y'all are putting way too much stock into how far he can throw the ball. That is a timing thing.
That's all about Jalen and Tyreek's play style, man. Honestly, that's where it comes down to
Jalen Waddle
for me.
went for 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns with that noodle arm, so apparently he was delivering something.
We'll see.
He didn't get 850 yards worth of yak.
We'll see.
That ain't what happened. But as far as Kansas City, losing Tyreek Hill is major for them.
Of course.
I mean, losing him, if we just rewind his 6 seasons in Kansas City, that marks the beginning of the 6 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons for Travis Kelce. He never cracked the 1,000-yard mark without Tyreek out there. He was there before Tyreek. He was good. He was not doing what he's been doing. He's going to revert back because now he's going to be getting double-teamed. There's no one to spread the field like that. No one is scared of Juju Smith or McCole Hardman. They're going to double Kelce and try to pressure Pat Mahomes. That's going to be a completely different team. So now they're definitely not the favorite to win the AFC West anymore. I mean, I don't know if that would be the Chargers or the Broncos or even possibly the Raiders. All four teams are good, but Kansas City had an advantage. They just lost the advantage.
Yeah.
That's the guy to blow the top off. That's the guy that made it easier for you to run because you had to have people back. So you're like, all right, Tyreek Hill can beat us by himself.
Yep.
And we got to worry about Kelsey. So the running backs are having free reign. Now it's going to be harder to run the ball. Kelsey's going to have a very difficult time getting catches. Like, life just got difficult for the Kansas City Chiefs. That was... They should have just paid him. I don't think it was a good move for them.
Yeah, paying $30 million a year though is, I mean, that's a lot. That's honestly a lot considering how that team is structured. If they actually had the funds to do that, and like I said, I like Mecole Hardman. Juju was obviously good, a couple seasons back when he had a little more continuity within that Steelers locker room. But I think it just really puts more pressure on Kansas City to where if you don't want to have to spend picks on a wide receiver, that's fine. You've got two guys in the building who can hold down a 1 and a 2 spot potentially. Go get another wide receiver as well. You just got 5 picks. So I think they're going to have to use Tyreek definitely creatively, though. But, I mean, we know, the big, deep ball is a part of his game. I get it. Slant 15 yards in. He's a walking play touchdown. You miss a tackle, Tyreek's down the field. I get that. I got to see it to actually believe that, he's going to fit in well in that type of scheme.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's see. A lot of requests on what folks want us to talk about next. We're going to move to the Sweet 16. The NCAA Tournament is going to get a little bit of shine around here.
Of course.
We'll get to those guys. Davante Adams is absolutely on the slate. We're going to talk about him, but you're just going to have to hold tight. So next up, we got
Miami.
Smith, if y'all have been watching, I know everybody got brackets. A lot of y'all are actually in the petty pool for these brackets. I'm in third place, just in case y'all missed that. I'm actually still in the mix. But March Madness has been exactly what it's all geared up to be. The Sweet 16. It's going to be real. We've seen upsets. We've seen crazy big plays. Like, it's like every single year we see major, like, small schools advance deep into the tournament. And now here we are in the Sweet 16, and we're about to talk about St. Peter's.
Yep.
Who are they?
Right. Someone that I actually picked on a couple of brackets, believe it or not. I was like, hey, these guys might make a run. And look, here they are.
So, man, we're going to play a little game on these Sweet 16 matchups. There's 8 of them. It's called Who's Got Nets?
Who's cutting them?
We don't know.
We'll find out, though.
Man, first game on the slate. Arkansas, number 4, against the number 1 seed Gonzaga. Who's taking that?
The Zags. Gonzaga, definitely going to have them taking this matchup here. 85-75 if I had to throw you out a score prediction there. When you look at how the Bulldogs took Memphis's best shot, really, and came back from a 10-point halftime deficit to win 82-78 just in the tournament earlier. Now, respect for Arkansas, of course. They didn't have to beat, well, kind of respect here, a single-digit seed to make it this far, so they are going to be really challenged at this point in the tournament. And we know who Gonzaga is. They've been on the cusp for many years. We've talked about them. They've been trying to take that leap. It's just a matter of if they actually are able to move past this team here. But at the end of the day, you don't know if Arkansas actually has that next level type of athleticism like Memphis did when they challenged the Zags. So that's why I think Gonzaga has this matchup here. Give it to me by 10, and the Zags will move into the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I mean, I think Arkansas actually does possess the level of athleticism to hang with the Zags. Where their issue is they can't shoot.
Yeah.
Like, you're not just going to just play defense all the way through. I mean, they had less than impressive wins over Vermont and New Mexico State. I mean, they won those 2 games by a combined 9 points.
Yeah.
Like, that's not getting it done against Gonzaga. They shoot entirely too well.
Yep.
I mean, they ran Georgia State off the floor in the second half in the first round, which, I mean, it's nothing. It was Georgia State. They weren't going to really contend with Gonzaga. But, I mean, then they won a tight game against a Memphis squad that was coached by Penny. It's like, man, they came to play. I mean, the team, they were 28-3 this season, and they're regulars to the Final Four. They're not going to lose to this Arkansas team. So you can count them. I don't know if they're going to win by 10. That is that's a lot of points. I mean, it's not far-fetched, but they're absolutely going to win.
Yeah.
So our next matchup on the docket, number 11, Michigan versus the 2-seeded Villanova. Rematch of the 2018 National Championship.
This will be an exciting one. I mean, literally, like you prefaced it there, rematch of the 2018 national championship here. Now, when you take a look at Michigan and how they were ranked number 6 in that preseason before, obviously, we got underway here, I feel like it took all year for them to actually play up until that number 6 level. We saw it, the chemistry at times, the way they just flowed on the floor, actually playing in big types of matchups, small types of matchups. They just never truly felt like they lived up again to that number 6 type of potential that they were ranked there before things got underway. But now you take a look at the fact that Michigan does feel dangerous. They can play with a type of underdog mentality because, again, a lot of people were saying, oh, let's move off of them, let's sell the stock. But Sweet 16 time up against the number 2 seed. They've got a shot. They really do. You take a look at Hunter Dickinson, and I think he'll need to be really dominant at this point against the Wildcats if Michigan is actually going to avenge its loss to Villanova, like they did, obviously, in the national championship, which ironically was played in San Antonio. So you got a kind of a lot of similar vibes here. But I do think Villanova might ultimately be too experienced to let this one slip away. I don't think they beat themselves here. Michigan has a great shot, but give it to me to Villanova by a slim margin. There's going to be a lot of tears in this game, unfortunately, like we have every year with March Madness. This will be one of those that really punches the fans in the guts.
I mean, Michigan is one of those teams they're seated way lower than what the team's actual ability is. And this time it actually isn't an issue of the committee.
Yeah.
They just had some hiccups earlier in the season, and then the whole incident with Juwan, and he wasn't able to coach to final, like the end of the season. So I mean, they ended up just backpedaling in as an 11 seed, but they're really not an 11 seed caliber team. So I mean, they've made it here, and that number makes it seem like, oh my God, they an 11 seed got so far. They're a lot better than what their seeding says, and they're playing an inspired type of basketball. I mean, like, it doesn't matter if they get behind, they fight and they claw back. They're winning tight games. I mean, they feel like they belong. They made it to the Elite Eight last year. So, I mean, they're absolutely not a stranger to this moment. It's the same squad coming right back. They're rallying behind Juwan. And I mean, Villanova, they beat Delaware and Ohio State. Neither one of those teams were all that good. Michigan beat Ohio State too in the regular season play. I mean, the Wildcats, I mean, they're accustomed to winning close games. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're 12-2 this season in games that are decided by single digits. So I mean, they're no stranger to close games. Like, almost all of them have been close for them. Since February 10th, they're 9-1 in single digit games. Every time they step on the floor, it's a dogfight. I mean, if they get out here in a dogfight against this Michigan team and it gets close down the stretch, I think Michigan takes them. They're going to send Villanova home. Michigan's going for them Nets.
Ooh, that's going to be a crazy one. I'm excited to see that game. That might be the one I'm looking forward to the most out of this entire matchup. I mean, they're all going to be great, though. March Madness, baby.
Oh, no, I'm pretty sure anyone who's been listening knows which one I'm looking forward to.
yeah, we know. We heard when you broke it down.
But next up, we got 3 seed Texas Tech, 2 seed Duke, and Coach K.
Who
you got?
I gotta take Duke here. This is gonna be another nail biter, of course. You obviously see the fact that Coach K had a little bit of a stinker towards the end of the regular season, and a lot of people were nervous. They were wondering, does Coach K still have it? Even though he's coached for over 40 years for these Blue Devils, and for just a great franchise, great overall culture like Duke, were they still going to be able to do it? And they have a lot of underclassmen. They're not extremely experienced right now. It's not to say that they're not good. They're obviously the number 2 seed, but when you turn around and also take that underexperienced, underclassmen type of team in Duke, and you match it up against Texas Tech, who is one of the best defensive teams in the country, who can actually play real big with you, who has a lot of players that outmatch Duke in some ways, it gets kind of scary here because you've got Duke at home, not at home, but as the favorite. And they usually play well when they are the favorite. But again, Texas Tech, big team, very defensive. I'm looking to upset anybody, right? It's March Madness, but I'm going to stick to my roots here. Give me Duke. Give me Coach K. I can't give up on these guys in the Sweet 16. They win by another slim margin, and they're on to the Elite Eight.
Okay, I mean, I can see that. I mean, there's a lot of folks that really feel like Duke is really going to make a run because of Coach K, since this is his last chance. But Duke plays little to no defense. I mean, against the better defensive teams like Texas Tech, they're going to struggle to score. So, I mean, if you don't play any defense and you have a problem scoring, ultimately I see this being the last dance for Coach K and the end of an era. So, I mean, Texas Tech, they beat a Notre Dame team that's been playing, like they came in hungry and they shot horribly. Like that was one of the worst games Texas Tech has played all season as far as shooting, and they still pulled it out because they play tough defense. Generally, when you see a team in the tournament escape a game where they had a terrible offensive performance, their next game, they're going to come out and light it up. They're going to come out and fill it up against Duke. Their defense is going to be too much. This is the end of the road. Sorry for all you Dukies. They're done.
For all you Dukies, why are you doing them like that?
That's what they call them.
That's embarrassing.
No, that's not even that's not even derogatory. They're the Dukies. Like, I didn't make that up. That's what they call them.
No. I mean, it's just like, okay, veering over from you now to the fan base. Damn, but you learn something new every day. The Dukies. All right. Didn't really know that was a thing.
Yeah. It's all good.
We
We got 5 seeded Houston, number 1 seed Arizona. Who's winning?
Houston. Give me Houston here. And I think they looked really good this past weekend defending their trip to the Final Four. And I think they aim to muddy up the Riverwalk to stall the Wildcats, really how they're playing so well right now, that high-flying team. When you take a look at Houston, when you take a look at Arizona, this is going to be a crazy matchup. Again, the 5 versus the 1. You've got a couple of high-ranked teams here. You got a couple of great players, obviously guys that are going to be looked at in the draft. And these guys are in the Sweet 16 for a reason. But I do think, I do think Arizona will have the best 2 players on the floor in Benedict Mathurin and center Christian Coloco, who got their scare out of the way, luckily, in escaping Texas Christian in overtime on Sunday, luckily. Give me Houston here for sure.
All right, I'm taking Arizona in this game. I mean, Houston is they're very well matched in this game against Arizona, but Arizona plays too fast. They're too good on offense, and they score too much. Houston does not put up points like that. They are a very good defensive team, so the game should actually be tight, but I see Arizona pulling that thing out. Now we're gonna go ahead and move in fast forward now. 15 St. Peter's versus number 3 Purdue. Who you got?
Give me St. Peter's 77-69 to be so specific here. I think the Cinderella does potentially get to dance again just a little bit away from Philadelphia, but there is a little doubt in the crowd at the Wells Fargo Center, and they're going to be pulling hard for St. Peter's, no doubt. They deserve all the love. I think they'll keep the game close against Purdue, which unfortunately Purdue rarely plays well as a favorite, so I think that's why St. Peter's has a great chance here. It's March Madness. They've made it this far, not giving up on them. Give me St. Peter's for sure. There you go, Chris G. I know you out there. I seen you first one in the comments on St. Peter's. Let's do it.
It's all good. I'm taking Purdue in this game. Like they're a great scoring team, and they've already taken out a whole lot of teams that are actually in this tournament because they played a real schedule over the actual regular season. They beat Villanova, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State, Illinois, knocked off Texas. They're not going to have any issues with St. Peter's. They're the poised team. The stage has gotten a little bit too big. It's done for St. Peter's. Cinderella can go ahead, take the slipper off, get the pumpkin, and go home.
Get the pumpkin. Pumpkin or slipper? Throw it back there.
That's what it is. They're done. So we almost to the 8:24 break, and then we got 3 more games.
We'll just name winners if you want.
Got Providence, Kansas.
Ooh, Providence and Kansas. Definitely give me Kansas here. Just a better experienced team. Love the culture.
I'm also taking Kansas. North Carolina, UCLA.
I'll take UCLA and be nice to you today before we hit the Kobe break. UCLA by a good margin over UNC. Close game, but I got UCLA in this one. They just got the swag for this.
I don't need you to be nice to me. UCLA's winning the game.
That's what right. It is. There we go.
All right, Iowa State, Miami before we hit the Kobe.
Give me the Hurricanes. Give me the Hurricanes and maybe a decent stretch. 11 versus the 10. A lot of momentum here for Miami. They've impressed.
All right, I'm going to take Miami in that one too. All right, so, man, there you go. Sweet 16. Count them down before we lose the 8:24.
Loaded show. 3, 2, 1. Kobe. R.I.P. to the Mamba. The Mamba has blessed the NFL week, the NBA week. Might make it into the lineup soon. The NFL's just nuts right now.
Yeah, man, there's been so much going on in the NFL. Man, we're going to throw this thing over to Mike Beasley one time so we can go ahead and let you know who pays these bills. And we coming back with Matt Ryan, so keep it locked.
Thank you, good sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you as well. You are tuned into Petty Sports Wednesday night edition, 8 o'clock like every week. All brought to you by Post 880 Radio. You are watching Famous Facts Fees and my guy, Adam Lewis. You know, they were away from the table last week, but they back full swing and in the mix. Do feel free to call in to the show tonight at 678-871-9602. 678-871-9602. That's how you can join the conversation and be a part of the show tonight. We'd love to hear from you. Everybody's got the chat room jumping. We see you out there, man. Like the Sharper 1, the Sharper 2, like the Sharpers are in the house deep. You know what I'm saying? What's this? Chris, Paris. Like, you guys are really going in, man. I like the feedback, you know what I'm saying? So keep it going. Continue to share the show. I see you out there, James Mack. You know what I'm saying? Aaron, the Frazier, or Trey Frazier. Yeah, man. So thank you. Share the show, share the link, and go to the different platforms. You know what I'm saying? YouTube, go over there, subscribe to the Petty Sports page, Petty Sports with a Z. That will really do us a big solid in trying to move that algorithm, you know what I'm saying, and drive some numbers. We greatly appreciate everybody who has, and if you haven't, what you're waiting on, right? Go to FedBook, Book of Face. Like right now, we're streaming live on several different platforms. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I mean, just take your choice, right?
Ooh,
you know
hit the QR code on the page.
Yeah, man. Like, and spend some money over there at Kings Broadcasting. Just talking about hit the QR code. Go to kingsbroadcasting.com. It's a big donate button at the bottom of the page. Share that loot. Share your free will. Buy some gifts. Anything. You know what I'm saying? We greatly appreciate that. Apple, iHeart, Google, Spotify. We all over the place. Just type in Petty Sports and you'll see us there. And go to Post 880 Radio. 24/7 dropping hits left and right. All kind of different genres. Post 880 Radio. Google it. It's blue check, verified, all that right there. And share that link too. Thank you. Back to the regular schedule program. ATL ho.
Yes, sir. You are back to Petty Sports, the podcast. And just like we promised, we jumping right back into the NFL and these hot trades. Matt Ryan has officially been traded to the Indianapolis Colts and for only a third-round pick.
Pleased.
Do the Colts step forward in the conversation due to this new move?
I got to say, yeah, actually easily at this point, because you look at, Matt Ryan's entire career, he's never had an offensive line. He's never had a consistent running game with a smart, uplifting front office who actually knows how to draft. Take it back to the Super Bowl year. That was good overall drafting-wise. Excuse me, and especially with the run game. And you look at how Indianapolis can specifically draft T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman, obviously Darius Leonard, Quentin Nelson. Those are all out of a succession of drafts over the last few years. Now, you also look at the fact that, addressing the offensive line, the Colts did give up 32 sacks last year, so that was 10th best in the NFL. That's going to be a major upgrade for Matt Ryan, no doubt. Yep. The Falcons gave up 40. Now, that is the 18th best, but for me, 18th best O-line to 10th best O-line, that is an X factor. That is potentially a game breaker to be in a game ahead in the postseason, or to even be able to make the playoffs in a critical moment of your regular season. And now you look at the fact that it's been far worse for Atlanta in those recent years, speaking of the offensive line. And even with the Colts being the 10th best O-line last year, with sacks given up, that was on a down year. The line is getting older. They've still got guys out there, so I'm sure they'll go. And, knowing who they're bringing in with Matt Ryan, a guy needing protection who is clearly, leaps and bounds better when he's got an offensive line, they're going to have to focus on that out there in Indianapolis to really make that a priority, for Matt Ryan. But now you look at the fact that the year that Jonathan Taylor just had, Matt Ryan literally walks into a solution that helps him, even if the offensive line is bad, but you couldn't really have a bad O-line because the run game is so good. Jonathan Taylor, young running back, still on a rookie deal. He's going to get a nice payday, but he's not going to have to clean the bank out, I feel like, maybe like a Henry, like an Ezekiel Elliott. Will he have that type of claim? Yes, but hopefully for Ryan's sake and for the franchise that he's not going to have to clean him out. And specifically, again, that running game for Matt Ryan is going to be major. He's never had a running game, really. He's never had an offensive line, really. And we've talked about that time and time again when it comes to Matt Ryan. Now, you look at the defense, of course, talking about for Matt Ryan's situation. They were about B graded, in my opinion, 16th in yards, 9th in points. When was the last time Matt Ryan had this type of production? The Falcons last year were 26th in yards and 28th in points. And realistically, I really wish the best for Matt Ryan. I think he's one of the most mechanically sound, most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. I said it before we went live. Y'all might call me crazy, whatever type of fan. If the Saints would have made calls on Matt Ryan, I would have been okay with that. There are plenty of teams in the league. I had been saying that the Colts, that the Vikings were the type of team, the two teams specifically, that needed to jump in and trade for Matt Ryan. I hope he's got a Peyton Manning type of sunset ride-off. I hope he's got a Tom Brady type of spark. I hope he's got a Matthew Stafford type of spark. He deserves it. He rode for a city in really a Stafford type of situation, but did, of course, significantly better, but not by much in terms of the entire landscape of the NFL. I'm happy for Matt. I definitely think they take a step forward into the conversation. Might not be a contender, but they take a step forward after this move.
I mean, I think they absolutely take a major step forward because after this move, from what we've seen out of the Tennessee Titans, we don't know what the health of Derrick Henry is going to be. Julio Jones is gone. Don't know that Robert Woods is actually a viable replacement for him. I mean, they're absolutely the favorite to win the AFC South now. I mean, that automatically gives you a playoff berth and to host a home playoff game. And with the power struggles going on in the AFC West and AFC North, they could easily follow the Titans' blueprint of last season by winning that division and having the top spot in the AFC because these other teams are running the gauntlet and beating each other up. But, I mean, we just look at how much of an upgrade that he is from the Colts. They went 9-8 last year with Carson Wentz. He only had 2 300-plus yard performances the entire season. I mean, that is less than impressive. The dude threw for 3,500 yards in 17 games. That wouldn't have been impressive in a regular 16-game season, but he got an extra game, and that's still all he was able to muster up was 3,500 yards. I mean, he posted up games of under 100 yards passing. He actually got outgained by Jonathan Taylor in 2 of those games. I mean, that's sad. Then you look at Matt Ryan over there with a much lesser roster, 0 running game because he had a running back playing wide receiver and everything else that could possibly be played by one player on one side of the ball. Still threw for 3,968 yards and led a bad Falcons team to 7 wins last season. So they were still damn near as good as a much better Colts team because the Colts quarterback just completely let them down, which is why they got rid of him. To me, there's absolutely took massive steps forward in this conversation. So now on the other side of this deal, did the Falcons get fleeced by only getting a 3rd-round pick?
I got to say, yeah. Maybe not in terms of getting fleeced, but I do think that they could have actually or arguably argued more for this collateral, that they got in the trade. And let me just go back a little bit on the previous topic there. So Matt Ryan always had a lot of pressure on him in Atlanta, whether it was throwing to Julio Jones, whether it was making sure that he was making the right reads. I never feel like he was truly built around all the way offensively. Yes, he was bought into, but to actually have the presence of talent around him, including the offensive line, I just don't ever feel like that was actually, something that was prominent for him. So it always fell back on usually Matt Ryan being the best player, being the smartest player, obviously outside of Julio Jones when it came to the offensive side of the ball. And I mean, we've even seen it when Patrick Mahomes has pressure on him, when Tom Brady has pressure on him, when Josh Allen has pressure on him. Your quarterbacks are not, Russell Wilson, your quarterbacks are not going to be highly effective when you're literally asking them to be a Swiss Army knife. Now, obviously, they're not changing positions, but when you're literally trying to live and die off their arm, we've seen it when, even Big Ben, Patrick Mahomes throwing 40, 50, 60 times a game, and we want to scratch our heads like, oh, why the hell did they lose? Because there's no command of the game. You're literally trying to ride off of one quarterback. Now, back to obviously them getting fleeced in the trade. I would say it's fair. You've got 7 rounds, I believe, if I'm correct there. Yes, 7. In the NFL draft. So having Matt Ryan as a 3rd, that's technically above the middle of the pack. And you could say on a good day, Matt Ryan is a little better than average. He can be special, obviously, when it is set up for him, when he's got everything in front of him, when he's built around perfectly, but he can't overcome adversity to actually take the team to the next level, and I don't think that's been proven, in his career yet. So the 3rd-round pick feels fair. But in terms of wanting to see another pick potentially, also wanting to see maybe a pick in a player, this goes on to tell me that the Atlanta Falcons yet again did not read the temperature of the room for the NFL market. When the San Francisco 49ers traded last year, and yes, I'm going back to the number 4 pick at Kyle Pitts because that was one of the most pivotal moments for this franchise in Atlanta. When you realize what the San Francisco 49ers send over to get Trey Lance, Mike Bell, you said it perfectly. The Falcons' phones were absolutely blowing up on draft night. And Atlanta took Kyle Pitts. They could have got a king's ransom, fell back for Micah Parsons, fell back for a Surtain, fell back for a lineman. They could have gotten so much, but they took Pitts. Now, who's going to deliver that ball to Pitts? Oh, the quarterback that you just traded out of the room and only got a 3rd-round pick for. I guess it's a good thing because the Falcons don't know how to draft. I guess a team is like, they're desperate. They're in rebuild mode. They don't know how to draft. We'll just pitch them a 3rd-rounder, and that'll be that. And they took it. But again, have we not seen the NFL market today? Have we not seen that Matthew Stafford just got paid $40 million a year, that Aaron Rodgers just got paid $50 million a year, that these quarterbacks, these wide receivers are getting sent through the ringer for collateral, and you only get a 3rd-round pick out of Matt Ryan? In that aspect, Yeah, now that I've went through it, hell yeah, the Falcons, it feels like they got fleeced. I would at least like to see 2 overall picks, a pick and a player, just something more than a measly third rounder, because I'm not convinced that's going to translate for them. I'm so sorry that I ran on their fees, but yeah, this was a third rounder. What the hell is Atlanta doing? Literally.
Oh, they absolutely did, man.
Oh, we got a caller in the middle of the Matty Ice segment. What's your name? You got about 60 seconds. We're so loaded tonight, but thank you for calling in.
What's going on, guys?
Ken, you might get 65 seconds. What's up, bro?
Hey, man, y'all were talking about the fleecing of the Falcons. Let's just face it. The Falcons got played from start to finish. The whole Deshaun Watson thing, they tried to underplay it today with the, we threw out an offer. We didn't expect to get him. I call BS on that. I think they put the whole farm up for sale on that until the last minute when Cleveland came in with the 230 guaranteed.
Fully.
Which put them in that awkward position of Matt Ryan. I mean, Matt Ryan's your franchise guy. He's always been there for you. He's took multiple hometown discounts to try to get better players around him. I mean, the Falcons get fleeced every time it turns around. You got Julio getting money on top of money. I mean, to the point where everybody was laughing and joking, saying, "Where is Julio?" I mean, at the end of the day, hey, the Colts won. I mean, if this were a game of chess, the Colts just won this. Matt Ryan's he's capable of putting up over 4,000 yards with a bad offensive line.
Yep.
I can't wait to see what he does with a good one.
Yeah.
He hasn't had one since 2016.
Yeah.
So all I can say is I still root for my Falcons, but go Colts, man. I hope Matt Ryan goes and does something big.
Yeah.
Man, well, see, what I saw happening there, it's the loyalty to Matt Ryan. Just sending him to a place where it's comfortable. They had a ready-made roster.
Yeah.
He did not have a no-trade clause. He didn't actually have any say in this.
Right.
The team didn't owe him anything. Like, if you're literally in a rebuild, which they were rebuilding before they traded him, they picked up Kyle Pitts to try to give him something that resembled a weapon, and then you lost Calvin Ridley to all of his betting ignorance. And now you just gave him away because you wanted to do Matt Ryan a solid. You don't owe Matt Ryan anything.
Right.
You owe him $40 million.
Right.
You don't owe him to screw your own team over. They should have gotten at least 3 picks for Matt Ryan. I mean, look at the other guys who've gone. Carson Wentz went for 2 third-round picks, and they just traded Matt Ryan for one of those picks.
Yeah.
Like, the Colts gave up nothing. They got rid of a scrub quarterback, got 2 picks, and then gave Atlanta one of those picks for their quarterback that's way better than the one that they just got rid of, and still have one of those third rounders.
Yeah, for a top 12, 15 quarterback in this league.
Preach it, baby.
Make it even more ridiculous. Sam Darnold went for a 2nd, a 4th, and a 6th.
Oh, God.
Sam Darnold went for 3 picks. But you only got 1 for Matt Ryan?
Oh, man.
And you're trying to tell me,
right.
They're just trying to cut ties? No. They got fleeced beyond fleeced.
Yeah. Well, like Gary said before we went live, right? It was kind of like when the Falcons reached with Lloyd Pierce. They were desperate. They made a hire. They knew he had no no experience in the NBA, and they gave up. They admitted, and they obviously bring in, Nate McMillan. When Matt Ryan has, he's had good seasons, average to good seasons. The only great one, obviously, I think we could say is the MVP year. Everything has been, pretty good outside of that. But when you witness that, and then you obviously go out and you, excuse me, what am I trying to say? You obviously go out here and you pay him the way that you do, right? Obviously, you've got this massive contract on him, and then you try to restructure it. You try to restructure it because you know that you're in too deep. They already knew they had lost probably a couple seasons ago. Let's just get rid of it. Let's throw it out, take our losses, move on, and let's just enter rebuild mode. You have now lost Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, betting or not, he's not coming back, Julio Jones, and Foye Oluokun, Russell Gage. Like, the players are heading out the door. It is a rebuild time for Atlanta. No question to me.
Yeah, I mean, those picks could be the difference in making a little progress in this rebuild and making major progress. Picks are huge when you're trying to rebuild a whole roster and you don't have a whole lot of cap space to work with because of the dead cap hit of the guy that you let go for nothing.
Yeah, they're not reading the temperature of the room. NFL draft was prime example. They could have got a slew of picks. Right now for Matt Ryan, I mean, the Colts played it well, right? The Colts played it really well. They literally won the trade, no doubt. But the fact that Atlanta, I mean, do we not see the market? Von Miller's making $20 million a year at 32 years old. Aaron Rodgers' contract, kind of an anomaly. Deshaun Watson might be an anomaly, still great. But how do you not bargain for more? This team is not heading in the right direction off the rebuild. Well, they're not.
They screwed themselves on the bargain by actually jumping into the Deshaun Watson race because teams were like, oh, okay, you're trying to get rid of him. So now you just lost leverage.
Ken, before we let you go, have you dug deep enough to realize what the hell Atlanta actually had on the table for Watson?
No. Well, I've tried. You can read all the reports you want to.
Right.
I think the Texans were wanting a little bit more.
They wanted 3 firsts.
I've heard Kyle Pitts. I heard they wanted 3 first rounds, Kyle Pitts, and AJ Terrell.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah. I don't think you can.
I'll go ahead and tell you. At the end of the day, I know Deshaun Watson's a generational talent.
Texans reading the temperature of the room.
You don't give away AJ Terrell.
Oh, yeah, because AJ Terrell has played really huge. Shout out to Jansen when he did a couple episodes with us. He literally brought up a part, would AJ Terrell potentially be a Pro Bowler? We were all kind of like, but he played up to the manifestation of that topic. I mean, he really did. AJ Terrell is I would say a top corner, but one of the best young corners in the NFL. Yeah, you can't send out probably 2 of your top 3 to 5 players and 3 first rounders. 3 first rounders and maybe more picks behind that, yeah, I could have agreed with, because at that point you're kind of trading off some of your future to buy into it now. Franchise quarterback 10, 15 years ahead potentially. We're at least 10, excuse me. But yeah, wow. Texans are reading the temperature of the room. No doubt. Absolutely no doubt that the Texans are reading the temperature of the room right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, guys, it was good talking to you. I love the show. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate you so much for hopping in with us tonight. Go Falcons, but we all choosing another team this year. It's okay, Adam. You're right. We got scammed. Yeah, he was go ahead.
I was about to say, we're going to jump to the 8:45 break a little bit early because we got a lot of trades to cover in this next segment. We're going to talk about 9 NFL Pro Bowlers that actually got moved within the past couple of weeks here in free agency since we've actually been sitting at this table. So, I mean, we got a lot to cover. Mike Beasley, take us away. We coming back full throttle.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we thank you so much for tuning in to this Wednesday night edition of Petty Sports, all brought to you by Post 880 Radio. Welcome to the March Madness. You know what I mean? It's going down. It's a lot of good basketball going on over there in the college ranks. Know your bracket's all screwed up right now. But, hey, go on to your favorite podcast platform of preference. Google, iHeart, Spotify, Apple. You know what I'm saying? Just type in Petty Sports, download the show there, or listen to it on your way to work or at home when you have time, when you're cleaning or doing whatever you do in your man cave or your woman she shed, So give us that big solid right there and supporting the show right that way. So share, keep sharing the show. Call your friends, neighbors, co-workers. Text your friends, neighbors, and co-workers. Let them know it's on. The guys are at the table. Adam and Famous Facts Fees doing what they do every week right here, giving you the greatest breakdowns, you know what I'm saying, this side of the A. You know what I mean? So keep supporting the show. We thank you so much. Do feel free to call in at 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. Stay in the chat rooms. We see you out there, you know what I'm saying? We appreciate Pimpin' Ken calling in, doing what he do, giving his take on it. We greatly appreciate that, and we look forward to hearing from you, all right? March Madness set. ATL, hope. Back to the regular scheduled program.
Yes, sir. We are back with more NFL trade action. We're about to play a little game called Good Trade or Bad Fade. We're going to run through 9 Pro Bowlers that moved just in the month of March. This has been one of the craziest NFL off seasons that we have seen to date. The ones that we're not going to talk about is because they've already got full segments. Tyreek Hill, we already talked about. Matt Ryan, we already talked about. Deshaun Watson is coming, so he won't be in this segment.
If you hop in the comments saying where are any of those takes, proof you didn't watch the video fees. Let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go.
First trade on the docket, the LA Chargers picked up J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack. I mean, massive moves to the defense. What do you think about that?
Definitely a good trade. You look at the fact that, I love the Chargers, very high on them. Now they're going to be healthy. They were 23rd overall in defensive yards per game, 12th in pass yards, 30th in rush yards, and defensive points. So this was a bad to average defense at best, no doubt. So they targeted their weakest link, thankfully, and obviously went after the run defense. You got Khalil Mack, and you got Joey Bosa on the same line. I mean, my goodness, at that point, I understand helped some between, Bosa, but I think he'll be able to rebound. He's obviously got, even if he's going to be a little sporadic, he's got a Khalil Mack to help him out. Don't come at me with the Khalil Mack is old and busted type of talk, these casual takes that everybody wants to throw out there. Last year was his only down year, 10 sacks a year over 7 seasons, and within that time, he was Defensive Player of the Year and a Defensive Player of the Year runner-up. That's in real class with J.J. Watt. That's in real class with Aaron Donald. So let's just pump the brakes a little bit there. Obviously, J.C. Jackson, top corner in the NFL. No question about it. 25 picks in his first 4 seasons. Believe it or not, is tied for best ever. He even calls himself Mr. INT. And they got him for essentially cheap, like you said, Fees. I mean, you were going off in the chat after J.C. Jackson moved. So I definitely don't blame you. They did improve the pass rush and now have 2 of the top rushers in the league. They were 19th in sacks last year and 30th in rush defense again. Brought in an elite corner with an elite safety in Derwin James and also Asante Samuel Jr., who I think will have a great sophomore year. I'm sure you can tell by the spiel there. I'm definitely for this trade. All good trade here for those Chargers taking a step in the right direction.
I mean, on paper, the Chargers are not absolutely a contender. I mean, with all of the hype that's surrounding Justin Herbert, they still haven't made the playoffs yet. So, I mean, the Super Bowl is a little bit of a stretch.
Right.
In Vegas, they've got them now as the 9th best odds to win the Super Bowl, 4th in the AFC. They still didn't actually bump Kansas City, really. Tyreek Hill bumped them a spot, so now it's Buffalo and Tampa, then Kansas City. It was Buffalo, then Kansas City. So these moves didn't make a whole lot for the Vegas lines.
Yeah.
But, I mean, last year, Herbert was 2nd in yards and 3rd in touchdowns, and it still wasn't enough to make the playoffs. So they figure they need to beef up the defense. And, I mean, if you're talking about beefing up, it couldn't really get beefed up any more than bringing in Khalil Mack, who, I mean, this dude can win games by himself, because we've seen that in Chicago.
Yep.
And J.C. Jackson, who's a top 3 corner in the NFL, coming off a Pro Bowl season.
2nd in picks last year, too.
2nd in the league in interceptions, and somehow just was allowed to walk out the door in free agency.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. I mean, they absolutely improve, but not so much that I see the Chargers as any more than a playoff team. They're still not a contender. The AFC is too loaded. So now we got Juju Smith-Schuster to the Kansas City Chiefs as what now has turned into a replacement for Tyreek Hill.
Yep. I got to say, good trade. I think Juju is now going to be a wide receiver 1 in this aspect. And yes, the second option, barring a major move. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, Travis Kelce is clearly the number 1 option. I think he's the wide receiver 1, even though he's a tight end. Because we saw a couple seasons ago that Travis Kelce was top 7, top 5 in overall receiving yards in the NFL. I think he would have been like the 3rd overall wide receiver if he actually would have been counted in that category. But I say all that to say Juju will now, I think, be stepping into a much better number 1 overall role. I think anybody really is going to be able to be good when you've got, Patrick Mahomes throwing passes to you there. And I think he still would have been a number 2 as well. Obviously, even with Tyreek Hill in there, I really hope, again, like I said, that Mecole Hardman gets a good work into this scheme because he's a Blazer. He can move. We've had the reports about what might be his issues, but I think Kansas City buys in on him and Juju more. Definitely a good trade here for Kansas City.
I mean, I think it's like a middle of the road thing. Like it's a decent trade. It's not bad, but Juju is still a number 2 guy. Now he's stepping into a number 1 role.
Right.
His numbers have been declining ever since AB left him and exposed the fact that he's not a number 1 wide receiver. Without Tyreek Hill out there, he's going to be getting teams' number 1 corner. And he's already showed that he cannot get open against teams' best DB.
Yeah.
They're not putting their number 1 DB on Kelce. Kelce's getting double teamed.
Right.
They don't put DBs on him.
They're getting the best linebacker on him.
Yeah. And then safety help.
Yep.
So he'll have 2 guys on him, but it won't be their number 1 DB. That guy will be shutting Juju Smith down.
Yep.
He played 5 games last year, only had 125 yards and absolutely 0 touchdowns on 15 receptions.
Yeah.
You're getting 3 catches a game. Like, Pittsburgh offense wasn't that bad. It just wasn't you.
Kind of funny how the career took a downturn after the TikTok boy vibes, huh?
Yeah, like Chase Claypool took over number 1 duties over you.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be Juju.
Totally blanked on Claypool's presence there, too. Yeah.
Like, that was supposed to be Juju.
Juju was big while AB was there, and then obviously AB left. Juju kind of had, some moments there where he was able to play good. But then kind of fell off. Claypool came in. We had some injuries. And again, ironically, when Juju hopped on social media and was dancing on logos, maybe it's not ironic, but his career kind of went south, and it really hasn't been the same since.
Yep. Damn shame. So we'll move on to the next one. We've got Davante Adams to the Las Vegas Raiders. Blockbuster move. Nobody really saw it coming. Good trade or bad fade?
Holy crap. We know this is a good trade. If Vegas doesn't have the best pass catchers in the NFL right now, it's got to be top 2, top 3 for sure. You're not only talking about Davante Adams, you're talking about Darren Waller, who is a top 2, top 3 tight end in the league, can play like the best tight end in the NFL on any given day. You've got a Hunter Renfrow. If they make another serious move, and I'm telling you, DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett are going to get out of Seattle before the season starts. Mark my words, they're not going to be having the Drew Lock era over there, especially not with two guys like that. They could literally be taken and placed on another team. Let's stick to Adams in Vegas, though, here. Obviously a great trade. And Adams choosing his college teammate over Aaron Rodgers, over a back-to-back multiple-time MVP, over one of the greatest all time, but who continuously shrivels in the big moment. We said it that Adams wasn't going to play on the franchise tag. Luckily, we missed the show, got to be able to get in, got lucky enough to get this news broken to us, but he wasn't going to play on the franchise tag. Aaron Rodgers was like, I'm going to take all the money, $50 million a year. You can do what you want. That's okay. Great teammate, right? And Aaron Rodgers, get the hell out of here. We know this is a good trade, though. He was tired of the same rinse and repeat. Don't blame him. Get me out of here. Send me over to the AFC West. Send me over to the AFC where it's absolutely loaded. Davante Adams to the Raiders. I couldn't believe this one. $28 million a year. Wow.
It was absolutely a great trade for the Raiders. Giving up the first and second round picks and the contract were all worth it. They do have a roster that with him implemented in it, you already named most of the guys that got out there. They still got a Josh Jacobs. They got a Kenyon Drake to spell him.
Yep.
They picked up Brandon Bolden, who's really good in short yardage. And Derek Carr it's now time for him to actually prove it. This team did make the playoffs last year. They were second in that division. Everyone acts as if the Chargers were better than them, but the Raiders were... For anything that you can show me as far as proof is concerned, the Raiders are better than the Chargers, and they got a bigger move with their offense. It was crazy that Davante Adams actually decided to leave Aaron Rodgers, but then you have to think about it from other aspects. It's like you get to go play with your old college quarterback. He played with Aaron Rodgers from 2014 to current, and the best they could do was get to an NFC Championship game where he watched his quarterback stop throwing him the ball because he was scared to throw interceptions.
Exactly.
And, last time I checked, he would rather live in Vegas than Green Bay. It's cold. They're playing in a dome, and he's in Vegas. That dude is like, man, I'm done with this.
Yep.
You go from Fresno to Green Bay, and now you got a chance to go to Vegas? It was a no-brainer. He's like, I can get all my money and go out there. I'm out of here.
Right.
So, man, we got Allen Robertson to the Rams on such a loaded roster. Good trade or bad fate?
This one was definitely interesting. I'm still going to say good trade, though. One of the best route runners in the NFL. Very physical player. Great hands. And he had Trubisky and Andy Dalton thrown to him for a couple of seasons. We've seen the videos. We've seen the memes where he'll absolutely route someone up, and then there goes the ball, 7-8 yards over his head. He's never had the true quarterback presence, to actually be able to have that great breakout season. We've seen him with the Jags. We've seen him with the Bears. I think, ironically, you send him to the Rams, you kind of start to feel maybe another Cooper Kupp, type of breakout season. Not, 1,900 yards chasing the record potentially, but he could still be, very well 1,400-yard receiver. Hopefully, OBJ is obviously back with the Rams. We still don't know about that decision yet. This might be kind of gearing up for what could happen, maybe just a fail-safe for that, but we'll see. Definitely got a good trade here for A-Rob.
Absolutely. It's a great move for them. It's a loaded roster. OBJ is out on injury. They already traded away Robert Woods, so they did need some type of replacement. He only played 12 games last year, but he put up 400 yards and a touchdown, and that was also him dealing with a ridiculous quarterback situation with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. So this will be a major upgrade for him and for the Rams to actually keep that thing rolling, because the Rams just seem to somehow just keep bringing in top flight players left and right. Like, money's not an option. Like, it's I don't even get how they're able to do this.
Yeah.
Man, we got another Rams guy, but he left. Von Miller to the Buffalo Bills.
This is going to be my first bad fade of this segment. Why the hell are you paying Von Miller this much money? I understand he's very respected. can we really say he's one of the true top linebackers in the league when we look at so many across the spectrum? I mean, he's still great, don't get me wrong, but $20 million a year, 32 years old, 6 years. I understand it's kind of, work to where it's not going to necessarily hurt them. But I don't really understand this type of reach. And yes, obviously Buffalo can be great. They don't have AJ Klein anymore. They've got Milano, obviously, to be able to rush the passer. But Von Miller to Buffalo, definitely a bad fade for me. I just didn't like the money. But again, when you kind of look at Buffalo, where could they really upgrade? I guess another running back now that they've lost a couple, but they were still good at running the ball last year. So still a bad fade for me, though.
I mean, I'm definitely not going to take that route on it. I think it was a really good trade because, I think they gave him one of those front-loaded contracts, the same as what J.C. Jackson got, where the guaranteed money and the bonus are all coming up front and it'll void out. They just gave all those years so it didn't really kill the salary cap. He's not going to play there for 6 years. They did what they had to do to cook the books the proper way.
Cook the books.
Yeah, that's how it's done. But as far as what Buffalo needed, it was absolutely necessary for them. They needed someone to come in and actually help to stop the run because that was the worst part of their defense. Even though they were ranked first in total defense and scoring defense, that was because they played 8 of the bottom 10 offenses in the NFL. Their defense wasn't as good as what the numbers said, just why they gave up all those points in the divisional round. But I think it was absolutely a good move. Now we got Mitch Trubisky to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Open your ears.
Yeah, this is going to be my second straight bad fade of the segment here. Obviously, this is a coachable kid that can manage the game. I think he'll lose it at times. Play good about 50% of the time when you take a look at it. I think he gets carried by the defense for the most part, like a Pittsburgh quarterback would be in today's game. But he's ultimately a bridge quarterback. And you got to ask yourself, are the Steelers desperate? Because it kind of seems like it. You've got Dwayne Haskins. You've got Mason Rudolph in house. What are they looking forward to? What are they comparing? The Bears 2018 campaign, realistically? Let's take a look at that. I think he's average at best. And 2018 was a fluke covered up by the defense that he had in Chi-Town. 3rd best defensive yards per game, 7th best defensive pass yards per game, 1st in points and rush yards per game. And he was still just a 66% quarterback, 3,200 yards, 24 touchdowns, 12 picks. So he's not amazing. That screams bridge quarterback to me. Bad fade. Go make a move, Steelers. We're tired of seeing this. You really should have had Matt Ryan. Let's be real.
I think it was a bad fade. Absolutely. It was a terrible move. Mitch Trubisky was not good when he was with the Bears.
Exactly.
Tucked his tail and went to Buffalo so he could be a backup. And then the couple of times he actually got in the game, he threw 8 passes last year for no touchdowns and an interception. He got in 6 games. He's not good. A prime Mitch Trubisky is on par maybe with a washed-up Big Ben.
Yeah.
And that's a stretch.
Yeah.
They're...
That's tough. I can't push back, though. Mitch hasn't showed us anything.
No.
That Bears team had all the talent to win a Super Bowl, but Trubisky held them back. Even if it was a double doink, Trubisky did not play well in those big moments.
Absolutely, man. Now we got Teddy Bridgewater to the Miami Dolphins.
This is going to be a good trade for me. I think we're just talking about bridge quarterbacks here. Teddy Bridgewater, I think he's an amazing bridge option for the Dolphins at this moment, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Teddy at this point in time maybe start a few games, but not due to injury, but because Tua might not be doing well under center. And I know a lot of y'all were saying, back in the comments when we were talking about Tyreek, Teron Armstead, some protection, Tyreek Hill could be a whole different player cutting underneath. But I don't know, unless Teddy is taking 80% of the snaps at quarterback last year, I don't trust Tua to be able to put this team in a position consistently without hitting a bad stretch of 5, 6, 7 games. Let's not forget Brian Flores is out to actually take this team far. This is a good trade for me, but Teddy's got to get most of the snaps. He has to.
I think it's a great move. It's insurance for Tua. They don't know if Tua is going to actually turn a corner and be the quarterback that they were hoping he is, but at least now, if he's not, they can go ahead and move on from Tua, let Teddy do what he's done at every team he's gone to, and be the bridge for them to look for the next guy before they actually have to pay Tua any money. So, that was a power move. I like it for him.
Ooh.
Last one before we get out of here. We got Robert Woods to the Titans.
Robert Woods to the Titans. I'm going to say this is a good trade. You get a 6th-round pick for a solid wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and that's what's awesome about Bobby Trees is he can really be a 1 or a 2. He showed us that he doesn't have to be catch hungry. It's a Swiss Army knife type of wide receiver that we're talking about in the league, but it could be bad because of the ACL injury. It definitely was towards that middle end of the season last year, so there's going to take some time to get back on the field. There's some changes out in Tennessee for sure, so we'll see what happens. This is good, but could lean towards the bad side.
I mean, I think it's a good move just because Julio carries a bigger name than Robert Woods, but in production, Robert Woods played one less game than Julio last year, had over 100 more yards gained. He had 4 touchdowns. The Julio's 1. And he was playing with the Super Bowl champs. Julio was playing with a team that was highly regarded as a contender, and they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. Julio can't stay healthy, and even when he was playing, he was not producing. I think Robert Woods is definitely a really good replacement for Julio.
We have no Julio Jones news yet either. None yet. There's been Raider speculation. There's been Buck speculation. God,
Yeah. I mean, nobody should pay him. Wherever he goes.
Wow,
he's gonna
reuniting
have to go
him with
pay.
Matt?
He's
I
going to
wouldn't be pissed at it.
on a veteran minimum. Like, we're doing you a solid type of contract. You're not getting Julio money.
Yeah. You come in on a Cam Newton type deal. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's pretty much all of that.
Oh, if he plays for less, that's petty, you think?
Oh, if he goes to play with Matt Ryan, then that would be a pretty petty move.
Jerseys would ignite tenfold all over again. Yeah, that's nuts. Top of the hour, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, we have reached the top of the hour. We are rolling. We got plenty more for you in the second hour. We're coming back with Deshaun Watson. I know you've been waiting. So, Mike Beasley, take it away.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, like always, thank you so much for tuning in here tonight. Petty Sports, all brought to you by Pulse 880 Radio. Pulse 880 Radio. Type it in Google. Go listen to some hot tracks. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for tuning in for the March Madness set. You know, not quite college basketball, but it's March Madness on the NFL side of things right now. You know what I'm saying? A lot of crazy trades and a lot of crazy moves going on. A lot of dollars being spent out there. So thank you so much for tuning in. Share the show. Call your friend, neighbor, co-worker. Text your friend, neighbor, co-workers. Let them know the guys are at the table. Famous Facts Fees, Adam Lewis, once again, doing their thizzle, giving you the latest and greatest and hottest takes on what's going on out there right now, especially in the NFL. Stay tuned. We got a whole hour, well, maybe not quite an hour, about 57 minutes worth of show left. Feel free to call in at 678-871-9602, 678-871-9602. That's how you can be a part of the conversation and enjoy the show tonight. We appreciate Ken for calling in earlier. What's taking you so long, ladies and gentlemen? We see you in the chat room chopping it up. You got a lot to say about the different takes. I love it. Go to Fedbook, subscribe and like. Go to YouTube, same thing. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. So anytime the show goes hot, you will be notified. Go to the different podcast platforms of your preference. iHeart, Google, Spotify, the usual, all right? Just type in Petty Sports and go in. You know what I'm saying? Go ham, have a lot of fun with that. And once again, all of this is brought to you by Pulse 880 Radio. ATL. Hold now, back to the regular scheduled program.
Thank you so much, Mike Bell. You already know what time it is, ladies and gentlemen. 9:03, March 23rd, 2022. Petty Sports is live and rolling, and the NFL is just not the same anymore. We literally miss one show for the week, and we literally have to come up with a segment for you guys where we're chopping up probably what a whole 3-4 hour show could have been about in just one segment. But hey, we appreciate y'all. Check out King's Broadcasting Studios. Great studio to invest in for a podcast. Hit us on social, call the show, get in the comments, run the views up. We already know that y'all are with us in-house, though. And now what is probably the number one move of the NFL offseason is Deshaun Watson not only breaking the bank, but breaking the league. Yes, the NFL stands for not for long, and now he chooses the Cleveland Browns after his reported final 2 teams were the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons. Inks a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed deal. Easily the most in NFL history. Fees, let's start with, why do you think Deshaun chose Cleveland over New Orleans and Atlanta last second?
I mean, I think there's obvious reasons for it. I mean, first and foremost, Atlanta being a tire fire of a rebuild at the very moment. That situation isn't much better than Houston. He could have just stayed there if he was going to do that. So there was no reason for him to actually come to Atlanta. I never thought he was actually coming. I know a lot of people were excited. I never saw that coming. New Orleans wasn't a whole lot better. I mean, he did have AK-41 and possibly Michael Thomas. We don't know what his health is like. He's been out for so long. His injury might be worse than what any of us think that it is. And they're also lacking on the coaching aspect. So being outside of that, there's one more major reason why he didn't come to either of those teams, because he needed to go to a place where there ain't nothing to do. Mm-hmm. Atlanta, New Orleans, and Houston are all major hot spots for all kinds of stuff to be popping off, and everything else that he's got, those places are massive distractions.
Yeah.
He need to be somewhere where, I mean, it's like Cleveland's not a hole-in-the-wall city like Green Bay. Like, that's not actually a real city. But it's nothing like those three cities. There's not nearly as much to do, and it's extra cold. I mean, he spent some time inside and actually focus on football as opposed to having nightlife on top of nightlife on top of nightlife going on, because Houston, New Orleans, and Atlanta all have that, like way too much of it. And Charlotte has it too.
Yeah.
I think that's why he did it.
Yeah. Yeah, good breakdown there, man. Definitely definitely a good way to dig into that. Because, the news broke about Baker Mayfield wanted out. He requested the trade. He had already wrote on social media. He knew Deshaun Watson was coming in, and he really felt like his time was over. But we had also heard that, Deshaun was out on the Browns. He wasn't with it. But that morning that news breaks, comes back, he circles back around, surprises everybody, and wants to play for the Cleveland Browns. And, great point that you started off with, talking about Atlanta really being obviously a dumpster fire of a rebuild right now. Obviously, Matt Ryan had just got out, so they were looking to make a major move, but we really didn't know this was going to be a blow-up or a rebuild, and they admitted that with the Matt Ryan move. Recent seasons, like I mentioned, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Foye Oluokun, all those guys being top one or two, being, one or two in the depth chart in terms of their position and how well they're playing for their team. So he saw that, it wasn't going to be that much better in Atlanta. And you can even, it's not even arguably saying, but Houston has, they're just off of a double-digit win season and being up by 24 on Kansas City a couple seasons ago in the divisional. Obviously, it's been a really rapid downturn, but the Falcons haven't seen much better since the Super Bowl year. I mean, they really haven't. They don't have an above 500 winning record since the Super Bowl year. And in terms of Atlanta, yes, obviously good culture, but Deshaun Watson is a big play kind of guy. He's slinging it huge, obviously, out there in Houston. They don't have any deep threats in New Orleans. We don't know about Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara is probably going to get bottled up. I mean, we saw AK miss some games last year because he had to go through so many carries with New Orleans. And I just think when you look at New Orleans, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it as a fan, the situation's not good. Yeah, we're making cap space, but we're sending everybody out. We just lost Teron Armstead. People are heading out the door in New Orleans, so there really wasn't going to be a whole lot there for him. Now you look at Cleveland. They've obviously got wide receivers. Amari Cooper just came over, so that's a great pickup there for him. An amazing backfield, an amazing offensive line, an amazing defense. A guy in Kevin Stefanski who is off of a coach of the year just not too long ago. So we know that he's going to have a lot of great energy in Cleveland. And he wanted to be in the AFC where everything's being crazy, maybe not have to venture over to the NFC and maybe face a Tom Brady or what would have been potentially a Matt Ryan. He wants to jump into the thick of things. He understands that the NFC or the AFC in the NFL market is absolutely insane right now, and that's where he wanted to be. It was really kind of a no-doubter between the three teams. We just thought Cleveland was off the map. So that is why Deshaun decided to go over with the Browns. But the $230 million fully guaranteed contract. I'm trying not to think about the Le'Veon Bell incident here. Is this contract worth it to you, Fees?
Absolutely not. That's entirely too much money.
$80 million more than Aaron Rodgers, or $50 million, $60 million more than Aaron Rodgers just got guaranteed?
Last time I checked, Deshaun Watson ain't won a single NFL MVP. He's not made it to anybody's Super Bowl. He hasn't proven that he can take a team to a Super Bowl, let alone win one.
Has he won a playoff game?
Yeah, he won one.
Oh, duh, because they played the divisional against Kansas City. Duh.
Yeah. So he got one playoff win. He hasn't played since December of 2020.
Yeah.
The last time he played, they went 4-12. We're looking at all these numbers, and we always accuse everyone else of putting up empty stats. Why are we we're salivating over these numbers, and they weren't winning?
Yeah.
4-12 with all of those numbers he put up. You know what the team was last year? 4-13. The team wasn't any better or worse without him.
Yep.
So I mean, it's like he's not proved that he deserves that kind of contract.
Yeah.
He is an exciting player coming out of college. Amazing. Won a national championship. Came into Houston. He's made big plays, but he's also had great teams, like great players around him. And he has not cashed any of it in. Definitely not enough to deserve a $230 million fully guaranteed contract, on top of the fact that we all know he ain't going to play. Not at least the first 8 games. That suspension is coming. So, I mean, you're not going to have him. He's not going to be. That's a huge ask. So you're going to ask him to come play half a season and win you a Super Bowl? Because the roster is Super Bowl ready. We don't know that Deshaun is Super Bowl ready. Before he finally got his first playoff win, we were saying that he folds in the playoffs. He's not the same Deshaun that he was in college, in the college football playoffs, as he was in the NFL playoffs, because he shrunk with those really good Houston teams in the wild card round. I mean, we've seen one good playoff performance, one where he took a massive lead over Pat Mahomes and just completely sputtered out. No more offense. Couldn't put another point on the board as he watched Kansas City put 50 unanswered points on the board. I don't know if it was quite that many. I don't know if it was that many, but it was close.
Oh.
But it
they went on like a
outlandish.
48-7 run, I think, to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, it was outlandish. You couldn't muster up anything with a lead that big. You're up by 24 points in the first half, and all of a sudden your offense went to hell. Deshaun didn't get hurt. He just stopped producing.
Right.
With someone with that many weapons in their bag and you couldn't get it done, I mean, I think he absolutely is a really good quarterback, but not good enough to merit $230 million, especially with all of this coming down.
$46 million a year is crazy as hell to me. Yeah, hasn't played since December of 2020. And before anyone, tries to twist what we're saying and saying that Deshaun's bad or this, that, and the third, he's not worth $46 million a year, $230 million fully guaranteed. And he hasn't played literally since December of 2020. And we're not questioning the talent. We're not questioning how generational he can be. We know he's got the big arm. We know he can make any throw. We know he's got big stature, can potentially run like a Josh Allen or a Cam Newton. I said it before Deshaun Watson got into a lot of the turmoil. He was the closest thing to Patrick Mahomes that I thought the league had to offer. Yes, over Russell Wilson. Yes, over Josh Allen at that time. The reason the contract does not feel worth it to me is I can't help, and I know it was a different situation, but I can't help but think of when Le'Veon Bell held out from the Steelers, went over to the Jets, was nothing after that because his body hadn't taken a hit in games, in weeks, months, essentially a little over a year. We know Deshaun's probably been training. Okay, we know that he's been out there getting at it because he still wants to be a top 3, 5, 2 quarterback, whatever y'all want to say in the league, but he hasn't been out there on the field. He hasn't been out there getting the looks. He hasn't been out there taking hits. And let's also say that, yes, Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback, and this is a great contract for him, but this could easily go down as the worst contract in NFL history. I mean, easily. So I love Deshaun. I'm happy he got paid. I'm happy he's with a team like the Browns, but this kind of ties over into the next question. Are the Browns instantly Super Bowl contenders after Deshaun Watson signing?
Absolutely not. I mean, if he has to miss 8 games or like half of the season, even if he has to miss 6 games, as good as that division and the rest of the AFC is, that's
Cleveland's the 4th best
enough.
team in that division.
Yeah, like that pushes them to the bottom.
With Mitch starting for the Steelers.
Yeah, with Mitch starting for the Steelers, that will make them the worst team in the division because their backup quarterback is Jacoby Brissett.
Yep.
Not happening.
Yep.
You got him out there running the whole team for the time that he's out. Even if he comes back and plays lights out, the rest of the AFC is so good, you're not making the playoffs. I mean, this will be another one of those years where every team that makes the playoffs wins at least 11 games on that side. We could see something like that, and they could easily be on the outside looking in. Like if Deshaun is allowed to play the entire season, I say they're a playoff team, not a contender. I had them in the Super Bowl last year. I'm not taking Cleveland that far again.
He said, I'm not taking the cheese this time. You will not get me with it. Yeah, I can't say the Browns are instantly Super Bowl contenders either. And this kind of goes back to the Atlanta comparison that Fees first came out with when we were talking about why did he choose Cleveland over New Orleans and Atlanta. When you look at the Browns, I mean, they've been the biggest laughingstock of the NFL for the last 2 decades. There's no question about it. Like, it took them forever. And this is why Baker Mayfield got so hyped up, because they get that little small patch of good, not even great, and everybody's blowing it out of the water. But let's not forget that the last 20 years in the NFL for the Cleveland Browns have not been good. I mean, let's just call it how it is. Yes, you were a play away from beating the Kansas City Chiefs and going for the AFC title game. But so what? You still haven't performed any type of consistent way. You still don't have a franchise quarterback. Even if you love Baker, he's probably going to go to the Steelers if he gets cut. Like, these reports are coming out. Let me stick to the original topic here, though. Houston, over the last 2 decades, has easily been better than Cleveland. And so you're going to ask Deshaun Watson to step into a franchise who just now really started seeing the light of day. They just now learned how to tie their shoes and walk in the NFL. And you're asking Deshaun to put on steel-toe boots and run to the Super Bowl, and it's just not going to happen right now. Next season, very well could. Season after 3 years now, from now, whatever. That's totally possible. But you're literally, between the money, You release Jarvis Landry. Obviously, you got Amari Cooper, and you got a great offensive line. You got a great running game. There are a lot of great things in Cleveland. But what the hell happened last year? What if injuries happen this year? Even if Deshaun proves that he can't be durable, because we've seen Deshaun's injury report, he looks like a damn UFC fighter. Collapsed lungs, torn ligaments, broken bones, dislocations. Deshaun Watson has been through the ringer, and I know that's solved out there in Cleveland. But again, you're asking him to go from Houston, who has easily been better from the last 20 years, better talent, everything. Now he's supposed to go over with this new rejuvenated franchise coach of the year and take them to the Super Bowl. Absolutely not. Could they be in the AFC title game? Absolutely. Could they go to their Super Bowl? Yes, absolutely, before you start trying to get technical. But doesn't instantly make them Super Bowl contenders. Definitely can't ride on that there. Wow, Deshaun Watson broke the bank, broke the league. He is with the Cleveland Browns. The AFC is just absolutely insane. The NFL's upside down. Like I said, guys, we missed a week, and it's been nuts. Oh, it has been so nuts. But we're going to veer over here now to our Petty Sports versus Highlight Battle Part 3. Yes, you know you guys have seen the highlight battles the last couple of weeks. We've had Lamar Jackson and Michael Vick. We've had Megatron, and we've had, I almost said Megatron and Calvin Johnson, Megatron and Moss. Now we are going to bring you, Fees gets Allen Iverson. I get Kyrie Irving. Let's go from the top. Fees, your number 5 highlight for Allen Iverson and how it plays out. This is going to be great. And when I was looking at it, I was like, why the hell didn't he give me AI? But it's fair.
This is a classic.
Yeah. We had to line it up fairly. So, all right, roll the clip. Here it goes. Number 5 highlight for Allen Iverson. Allen Spradlin, my cousin. I hope you're watching, brother.
Iverson has Jordan. The crowd is into it. Allen shakes,
Go sized him up. Cross check. Got him. He shook. Real cross. Eat that. Buckets. On the go. Best moment in his career.
I remember when there was an interview and AI was like, you know what's crazy? Is I gave him my best move twice and he still almost won. like right at the end, you can see it. There's a different camera cut on this play, but I mean, Jordan is, I mean, he is just inches away from getting, obviously, he just takes a fingernail onto a shot. AI couldn't believe it. You know, AI was running this one, so definitely a crazy highlight there. All right, on to Kyrie Irving's highlight here to roll off the verses. Guys, don't forget to hop in the comments. Don't forget to call the show. Let us know what you think of the verses. Give us some topics for the verses as well. Let us know who is actually taking away these battles. We'll get the highlight rolling on the screen here in just a second. We've got Kyrie Irving just getting an embarrassing crossover in step back in the middle of the All-Star game. And we know this is what Kyrie does. Some people say he's maybe the best ball handler of all time, maybe the best offensive player with the ball ever in his hands next to a, Steph Curry type of player. Who did he do this to? Was that Brandon? Who was that? Brandon Knight? Brandon Ingram? I don't know. Absolutely disgusting, though. Just embarrasses him out there, and makes him roll off. So, Kyrie Irving, highlight number 5. I know it says number 4 in the bottom left, but obviously we pulled it from some clips there. All right, Fees, on to you guys. Don't forget to hop in the comments. Let us know what you think of the versus battle. Who's winning? Who's losing?
They're rocking with AI so far.
You got to, man. I mean, from, Jordan off the top with AI, man. Can anything else pass it? You know what I mean? It's unfairly slated, guys. I'm at an unfair disadvantage. AI. No, you're good, brother. Yeah, I was about to say, just roll it however you got it lined up over there. We'll make it yeah, no, you're good. No worries. Right.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Here we go. Iverson on Antonio Daniels. Cross.
A little Jamal Crawford right there. Or Jamal Crawford pulling a little
exactly.
Allen Iverson. Ooh.
Look at him. Make him play Twister with his right hand on red. Cross again. Fall down. Go to the rack. Buckets.
Just got to blow by him again. Just let him know, hey, this is me going by you right here.
Crossed him twice.
I could have pulled up and made it, but I was like, nah, I want to blow right past you.
Put both hands on the floor.
Right. I want to show you what it's all about, Mr. Sir.
Got that man doing up downs.
Man, I miss AI. Just Allen Iverson.
It's embarrassing.
The one, the only. Practice. We talking about practice. Hey, you could have put that in the versus battle. Not a game. Practice. Of course, the traditional speech there from Allen Iverson. All right, Kyrie Irving, number 4 highlight here. Actually, number 4 highlight. Just a great moment from Kyrie overall. These versus battles are so fun. Actually being able to go through and pull in some of the highlights to see like, wow, this actually happened at one point in their career. The spin between the defenders was my major highlight of this one. Of course, immense ball handling skills. This is what Kyrie Irving does best. Back in the Boston days, which might seem like a little bit of a lost time for us. Defensive laps for sure, just splits the defenders in between the two, goes to the rack. Nice handles all the way through. I mean, just seamless all the way. Never lost control at all, moving all the way through, jumping for his own rebound, and just embarrassing folks. Just, doing what Kyrie does best.
Okay, that spin was real.
Sip.
Crossover spin between two defenders.
The crisp handling is what gets me about Kyrie. Like, it just looks so simple. There's a lot of guys out there who handle the ball, obviously, and that they're doing work, but Kyrie, I just feel like, is always on the handles.
Oh, it always looks
never
effortless
fails
with Kyrie.
Never fails.
Oh, yeah, but I got a killer coming up for you for AI.
Always.
6-foot guard, dunking over a 4-time block champion, defensive player of the year, 6'11", Marcus Camby. Go ahead and get you some of that.
I forgot Camby was that damn big.
Get you some of that.
Ooh. What's a one-hand hang? He said,
You get dunked on by a little 6-foot guy, and then he
Right.
sit on your neck.
yeah, just go ahead and take that one to the crib.
You see how it paused a little bit?
yeah.
Poster action.
Right. He was like, yeah, this is me hanging from the rim. That's me. Yes, sir. That's the point guard on my back. It absolutely is. Thank you for asking.
Even more disrespectful because of who Camby was. It ain't like he was a
Right.
big scrub.
Yeah. I mean, this is the Marcus Camby we're talking about. Yeah. When you threw that one in there, I was like, oh, I forgot about Camby. Camby was that guy. Yeah. You said 4-time block champ?
Yep.
Sheesh. How many years in the league? Maybe you don't know.
Give me the line.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All over Marcus Camby. All right, Kyrie Irving. It's a lot of handles highlights here again. We love what Kyrie does. We know that he's clutch. Let's take a look at just this masterclass of handles and finishing here. Not only does he finish there, but plays even more proactive to gain the ball back on the handles, pop it out to the wing, more handles again, just to pop out to the wing for a nice 3-ball. I want to say that was over to either Smith or Shumpert, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, love the finish there. I mean, the split, the wrap with the right hand to essentially cup it and bring it back up to the goalpost is absolutely disgusting. A masterclass. Literally a masterclass from Kyrie Irving. Let's not forget the fact that he had just, 50, 60 points in those games last week that we had forgot about. Obviously we didn't put it into the lineup, but yeah, just absolutely going crazy with the Nets, playing there next to KD. But Kyrie Irving doing what he does best. Nice little close-up for you. That move there, when you look like you're going to get big, bring it back down just to gain you some space in the air and then float right back up to the rack. Yeah, you can't contest that. You can't contest that.
No, absolutely not.
Is it AI all day over here?
Since you went for a handles clinic, I'm going to give you AI and a handles clinic against the world champion Lakers. He's not playing against the scrub squad like what Kyrie was in a highlight. He was playing.
Got him.
Against the Lakers. Went everywhere. Backwards, forwards, left, right, in, out, step back, fade away.
Ridiculous. Yeah. Takes a lot of energy there.
What didn't he do?
You can see him kind of almost lose the handle when he dribbled real high. Not like in a bad way, but just the fact that he kept all of that together just to hit that clean shot.
The crazy
That's not an
changes
easy
of
play.
direction.
Yeah. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's that right there is what does it for me, because he really kind of
inside, because he's like, hold up, is that Shaq?
Yeah.
Let me go to the. Let me fade out.
He's like, yeah, that's definitely not happening.
He didn't even know where he was. He did so many moves.
I mean, wow. Yeah. There's so many combos in that. Kind of like a little, well, not really a Euro, no, but like a hop step kind of over almost into the free throw circle right there. Yeah, that's just clean. That's a hard play. That is a really hard play to pull off, because you got all your momentum after handling it every sort of way, splitting two, then jumping back after already hop stepping. Yeah, that's really big to do. You feel like a baller when you pull it off. Definitely feel like a baller when you pull it off. No doubt about that. Kyrie Irving, yet again, out here with the people on the highlights. Behind the back, step back 3, breaking people's ankles. got him turning around. Maybe it's just more the fact that he was like, oh, where'd he go? Where is he? Oh, there he is.
And that was Tayshaun Prince. He's a world-class defender. Man, I don't know how old he was by the time he was playing for the Timberwolves, though.
Man. Just spun him around. Where's Kyrie? Oop, there's Kyrie. Drano. Yeah, it's just, just on a dime. I mean, you could put a pin on the court. Kyrie's like, I will hit my right toe there and head back to here just to take the J from there. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Gotta love what Kyrie brings to the table.
Last highlight, classic. Iverson, NBA Finals, 2001. Y'all know the play. The cross, the jumper, step over him. That was that Lakers team that went undefeated through the first 3 rounds of the playoff against 50-plus win teams. And AI took them to overtime and won game 1. That was the only game they won. But they were the only team to get even a game off of them.
Right.
Off of AI's 48 points. And the most disrespectful step over.
That's a tech. That's a tech in today's league. They wouldn't have had that now. They wouldn't have had none of that.
I don't know how Tyronn Lue actually was able to coach an NBA team having this on his highlight reel.
Right.
You got the most disrespectful step over in such a big moment.
Right.
It wasn't just a regular season game at the end of the game where something happened. This was in the NBA Finals.
Wesley said, can we talk about the greatness of John Morant? Yeah, of course. John Morant's a baller. It's going to take him a minute to catch on. Maybe we do like a new school versus battle. That would be kind of cool. Maybe like a John Morant
even
versus.
Give us a versus. He just wants us to talk about Morant because he plays in Tennessee.
John Morant and Trae Young. There we go. I'd be down for that one. Kyrie is a great. Falcons wouldn't draft him, though, because he's too good. You are an absolute fool, Taj. All right, G, last highlight here. We're going to roll the number 1 highlight for Kyrie Irving, and it's what everybody obviously reverts back to when they think about it. 2016 NBA Finals, Game 7, absolute scoring drought, and Kyrie put the ball in his hands, hits a crazy shot from the wing to obviously eventually send this one home in Cleveland's favor with an absolutely packed, sold-out Oracle Arena in Game 7 of the NBA Finals against the 73-9 Warriors. And a lot of people hold this play really highly, obviously, with LeBron's ring, the way he, took this one back to the crib. Everyone's like, oh, well, it's only because of Kyrie Irving and this and that. But let's not act like LeBron didn't play great in this final stretch. Let's not act like LeBron James hasn't played great in a lot of final stretches. No matter the outcome, we know the NBA Finals averages and numbers that he puts up. That's going to wrap the versus battle for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Early on into season 2 of Petty Sports, episode 52 officially. Can't believe we cranked that many out, and we've got the 3rd ever versus battle underneath our belts. What's up, Fees?
I can give you a comparison to actually make light of that situation that you just mentioned where Kyrie hit the shot and they act like Ron did nothing. It's almost exactly the same. The guys who hit that last shot in a finals game to win, it's the exact same thing that people do when kickers make a field goal at the end of the game, as if
he's the best kicker in the league.
Like the kicker won the whole game. It's like, bro, they put him in position.
Right.
Like you drove in, you kicked out, they made the 3-pointer, you drove the ball up the field, he kicked the ball, and it was also for 3 to win the game.
Right. So let me
thing.
really put it in perspective for you. Yeah, I feel that. 9:28 here on Petty Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Wednesday night. We start at 8 p.m. We got about 32 minutes left on the show. We'll hit the 9:30 break a little early. Mike Bell, I'm going to throw it over to you to talk to the folks about who pays the bills at Kings Broadcasting Studios. And when we come back, we got to talk about some disrespect for the Atlanta Braves.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Like every week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock sharp, you at the table with Famous Facts, Fees, and Adam Lewis. All brought to you by Post 880 Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being in the chat room and participating in the conversation. Do feel free to call in at 678-871-9602. 678-871-9602. That's how you can join the conversation and be a part of the show tonight. We'd love to hear from you and what your take may be on anything that has been discussed tonight. And thank you so much. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here with us. We're at the bottom of the hour. We got like 31 minutes left in the show. So sit tight. You know, the best is yet to come, right? You know what I'm saying? Thank you. Go to your favorite podcast platform of choice. Type in Petty Sports, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart. You know, we all over the place. Just type in Petty Sports with a Z and help support the show that way as well. Subscribe on YouTube at Petty Sports. Same thing, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff right there on some social media platforms. Subscribe, hit the notification bell over on YouTube, and that way you won't miss a beat when these guys go hot. So thank you once again so much for tuning in. Go to kingsbroadcasting.com. Spend some money, buy some merchandise, and, help us out over here to help bring forth this great content like we do every week. All brought to you by the Post 880 radio station, Post 880. Go Google it and listen to some hot tunes right there 24/7. We appreciate it. All right. ATL, back to the regular scheduled program.
Thank you so much, Mike Bell. We highly appreciate that beautiful sponsor break there. 9:30, ladies and gentlemen. Petty Sports, Wednesday night. You know we start at 8. We're an hour and a half in. We got a half hour left. 678-871-9602. Got something to accompany the Matt Ryan topic that we had earlier. Guys, again, it is never about where Petty Sports is at, but it's about where you catch your content on any platform. Check out Pulse 880 Radio, like he mentioned. Check out Kings Broadcasting Studios if you want to work up a podcast like the one you're watching now. Oh, boy, a day that will live in infamy in Atlanta sports history, along with the many others, because these teams just never want to get serious about their best player. Freddie Freeman has signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers after winning the World Series with the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta not only fails to bring back the best first baseman in baseball, but most importantly, their best player on the team. Been with them since 2007, been in the majors for a decade now, and he takes less money to go play for a rival that the Braves never were able to conquer in the postseason. Did Freddie do Atlanta dirty by not only leaving fees, but choosing the Dodgers as well?
No, actually he didn't. And this theory that he took less money, I mean, that's like diving into taxes. He took $27 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, one is for 5 years, one is for 6, but it's for the exact same amount of money on the annual.
Yeah.
So I mean, to say he went for less money is, I mean, that's a little bit of a stretch. Mm-hmm. I mean, he left for the Dodgers, and it looks like, oh man, like because everyone here hates the Dodgers. But just put this thing into perspective for you. That man is from Fountain Valley.
Yep.
And that's Orange County, California. It's only 37 miles away from L.A., where he just signed.
Yep.
He left high school in 2007, and he's been here ever since. The Braves should have given him whatever he wanted before they let him go out there and take his little trip down memory lane and flirt with L.A.
Yep.
He's from there. He went back home. It wasn't disrespect. It was stupid. Like, Atlanta should not even have let him even consider doing that.
Yeah.
And he's like, not only can he go back home and play, he can go back home and win a World Series alongside Kershaw, Mookie Betts, and Bellinger. This crew just won a World Series 2 years ago.
Yep.
They're primed up to go right back and win another one, especially with him.
Yep.
I mean, he's not worried about playing against Atlanta, and I don't think he's got ill will or feelings towards them. He's from over there. He wanted to go back. You should have rolled out that carpet, given him like they offered him 27. You offered him 27. You should have offered him 30.
Yeah.
Should have given him a massive signing bonus, bought him a house, whatever it is that you needed to do to stop him from actually playing in free agency. They should have done it. So I think really the ball was dropped on the Braves.
Oh, man. Oh, it's just another case of where an Atlanta sports team just can't get serious enough about their best player. They want to cheap it out. They just don't want to commit. And there's a lot to unpack within this, and I won't take a whole lot of time because I know we got to get the AFC East postseason wrap-up in. But the question of did Freddie do Atlanta dirty, not only by leaving but choosing the Dodgers for less money? I get it was the same on the annual, but the Braves had an offer on the table for $30 million a year. The Braves originally had an offer on the table for about 25 to 27, which is also in the ballpark of what Freddie accepted but rejected weeks and months before. That is what was so crazy to me, because when we had the topic on here about, the Braves offered Freddie this amount of money and they rejected it, I said, here go the damn Braves. Here go the Braves yet again, taking one of their top players and just not locking them up, not getting serious about them, not letting them essentially not letting them not explore other options, so keeping them safe. Like you said, not letting him go back home to Fountain Valley, take the trip down memory lane, understand the beauty of Orange County, understand all the superstars that are in LA, because you will get lost quick in that city. You've got Stafford, you've got Donald, obviously you've got the history of Kobe, you've got Kawhi, just a couple seasons back. Like, there's still a lot of presence in LA, and Freddie wanted to go visit that. Now, let's look at the fact of, let's kind of pivot in a way and say, all right, were the Braves serious enough about bringing Freddie back? Double take here, but it's yes and no. I say no because I know we might have made a joke, but you literally hand Freddie Freeman a check and say, fill it out, right? That's what some people thought because of what he had done for the franchise, been with us since 2007, big moments in the NLCS, kind of fell short of the divisional, so we had some things to understand with that. But when you look into it, the Braves knew that if they signed Freddie, they weren't going to potentially get a Jorge Soler back. They weren't going to get a Rosario back, behind their belt, guys that were really major and had big hits, big moments in order to get the Braves to that World Series. They wanted to stay young. They obviously wanted to make the money stretch and be able to chase more World Series than just one instead of buying all in. But when you look at the fact that again, best first baseman in baseball, your best player on the team, how do you not lock up the best player that you just had? But I get it because it's a business. You don't want to have to give up so much collateral to a first baseman that was asking for so much money. But why do you sit around and play around with the money? Why do you play around with the contract? Why do you not get serious about it? Why do you allow Freddie to sit on his ass? And of course you let his family play into his ear because that's a major part. He's had 3 boys since being in Atlanta. He's got Chelsea, absolutely beautiful. Great sunshine life, right? But the Braves, again, did not handle their best player in the right way. We saw it with Jason Hayward. We saw it with Andrelton Simmons. We saw it with Martin Prado. We saw it with Justin Upton. They don't want to bring the money forward and actually pay these kids. I understand Ronald Acuna is on a $100 million contract right now, right? But that's also for 10 years. And I get it, Acuna was young, 20, 21, 19 years old, however old he was when he signed the contract. But when you've got a 20-year-old in Juan Soto turning down $250,000 contracts, turning down over $200 million contracts, we know what the market is. And the fact that an Atlanta team, again, next to their Falcons, losing their best players, not reading the temperature of the room, not understanding the market. I get it. There's been a lockout with baseball, so you've probably had some money go awry, whatever the case may be. But to really drive this home, I understand that they brought in Matt Olson. Great guy, almost 40 homers, nice batting average, good RBI, young, much younger than Freddie. I get that, right? But AA, Alex Anthopoulos, the GM of the Atlanta Braves, was fighting back tears when he had to make the decision for Matt Olson. Why did that fall short in bringing Freddie home? Why did that truly fall short in bringing Freddie home? Now, I'm happy for Freddie. He made the best decision for him. It's beautiful out in L.A., but it shows you that he might have thought last year was a fluke. Even with Acuna coming back, their second best player, you've still got all these guys in here. He wasn't bought in. He doesn't think another World Series is attainable, at least in the near future. I get it. He went back home, but you had to think deeper. You just won a coveted title for a sports team in the city of Atlanta. That's where I'll leave it. To the Dodgers, though, I mean, seriously, to the Dodgers, we struggled to beat them so often. Not only is he looking at the Dodgers, but the Yankees, the Red Sox. It's kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Freddie did Freddie did what was best for him. But I really don't feel like Atlanta took the situation seriously enough. I understand it's business, keep the young, keep the youth in the team, whatever the case may be. But I'm truly upset to have to look at that graphic in the middle of UNI fees and understand that Freddie Freeman is a Los Angeles Dodger. But let's roll on before I get, fighting back tears like Alex Anthopoulos was. The AFC East postseason wrap-up is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. We got about 22 minutes left here on the show. Of course, like we've done, we are going to revisit our preseason predictions, give out some grades, and also relay to you the biggest needs for the Bills, the Patriots, the Jets, and the Dolphins. I was not here the week that we originally did the expectations versus reality for the preseason, so Fees will take that first part as we go through the teams. I won't have a preseason prediction, just a grade and a biggest need for this one. We'll start at the top with Buffalo Fees. How did you feel about them walking into this year? What is their grade after 2021? And what do they need walking into 2022?
And well, coming into the season, I predicted that the Buffalo Bills would be 13-4, and they would win the division. They did win the division, but they only finished 11-6 because Josh Allen regressed from a season ago. I'm going to give them a B- overall as a grade, because they got some points back. I was absolutely giving them a C, but their performance in the divisional round and in the playoffs, they just completely destroyed New England and then had the thriller of a game against Kansas City and lost in overtime. So, they got their grade back up to a B. That's where they got those last few points from. But, coming off a 13-3 2020 campaign where they went to the AFC championship game, the expectations were Super Bowl or bust, and they busted. Josh Allen dropped the ball. He did kind of find his way, but he started the season off horribly.
Yep.
The team was still able to win, get to the divisional rounds. I still just had to give them a few of their points back. As far as their needs, they need interior defensive linemen like no other. They've got to learn how to stop the run. So, that game that they lost to New England was disgusting. The game that they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars was disgusting. That just goes to show you that they have massive lapses and can be exploited for things that they're not able to do, which stopping the run is it. If you lose a game where a team actually runs the ball all but 3 plays in the entire game, there is a problem on your defensive line. So, that along with linebackers and multiple options at running backs, they generally don't run the ball. And the numbers don't suggest that they don't run the ball, but they don't really run all that often. The addition of Von Miller actually does go a long way in the upgrades on the defense. But, Duke Johnson, not really sure how much juice he's got left in the tank. He once was a really good running back, but we know what happens to running backs. Once they start to move, they're really just not that anymore.
Once they get the first bag, the money weighs them down, literally.
Yeah,
That's just what it is,
They
man.
brought in O.J. Howard. They got Jamison Crowder now. They've got depth on offense, but their offense was not the problem. Outside of a couple of bad Josh Allen performances, their offense was great. That's what you've learned to expect from Buffalo.
Yep.
But overall, they get a B-, and we'll see what they do moving into next season.
Heard on that. The Buffalo Bills, y'all know I had Josh Allen as actually my MVP pick when we walked into the 2021-2022 NFL season. Now, I did not have any preseason predictions for them. I would have said Josh Allen, probably would have won MVP. I would have picked Buffalo to go to the AFC title game. And I even had Bills Bucks as my Super Bowl pick before the season started. But like I mentioned, I wasn't on the show when we did the original AFC preseason expectations versus reality. But for the 2022 season, for the past NFL season, I will give Buffalo a B+ for their efforts. And we saw it, early on in the year. They had some games where it was against the Texans, it was against the Jags, like these teams that really had no business being in the ring and, trading shots with Buffalo were actually holding them down. We had a stretch where Josh Allen, and nobody wanted to not even hop on the wagon with me on this, but I was literally seeing Josh Allen not perform well against teams, playing down to his competition, falling short in the big moments, having bad throws, having these turnover-worthy plays, time and time again. And I understand Josh Allen, great guy, huge arm, one of the best runners, really a rich man's Cam Newton, right, who can throw the football. We've heard some of that go around the league. But, the reason they only get a B+ for me is because I do feel like they fell off in moments that really should have been theirs. I understand that they lost in a ridiculously great overtime game to a coin toss. We can't help that. That's what the rules are. But Buffalo, in my opinion, should have been in a better position than 11-6. They were much better than an 11-win team, and we saw them have to get some of that chemistry up, have to go after other parts of the team to where they have to focus on that because it wasn't going to be a system to get them to the Super Bowl. Now we talk about biggest needs. I agree with you, Fees, on interior defensive line, on defensive line in general. Got to be able to stop the run, and also leaning on running back as well. I know that they were actually top 10 in the league last year in running the football, but I know when you actually watch on film, when you see Josh Allen and how much he runs compared to the other running backs, it doesn't really feel like that. I know I want to say, no, was it Breda? Breda did leave. I want to say he plays for the Giants now. So you obviously want to get someone back there with a Zach Moss, with a Devin Singletary, just one more back that can maybe take place on one of those two, because those guys are good, but I do feel like they can be replaceable. Buffalo's great all the way around. Secondary, linebackers. Now they've got Vaughn in the house. Get some defensive line presence and get some more running backs, because the Bills had the second best O-line in the league last year. They gave up less than 30 sacks all year. So we know they're clear on that aspect. Let's roll over into New England, Fees. How do you feel about them in the preseason? What did they grade out for you? And what are their biggest needs walking into next year for the New England Patriots?
Preseason, I predicted a 12-5 season, a really good year from Mac Jones, which would have granted him getting the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which he was probably just a half a step away from getting it. But there was this guy named Jamar Chase that just came and took the league by storm. But, with a 7-9, Well, 7-9 was the record from the year before. So, I mean, this year at 10-7, that was an improvement. I'm going to give them a B for the season overall. I mean, they did install a rookie quarterback into an offense that they spent a lot of money in free agency on. And they didn't get a bunch of big names, but they did actually try to get him something to work with. I mean, making the playoffs with a rookie quarterback was a major step in the right direction. Would have been enough for an A had they not just gotten completely annihilated in the wild card game, just not stopping Buffalo ever. Just like Buffalo got points given back to them for their performance in the playoffs, New England lost some points for that. I mean, that was bad. The biggest needs, they still need a legit number one wide receiver. Need some type of home run threat and somebody that can actually back the defense up, give them a little bit of room. Corners are desperately needed after J.C. Jackson being gone. Granted, they did just bring Malcolm Butler back on a 2-year deal. That happened a little earlier today. But Malcolm Butler ain't no J.C. Jackson. So in a division that's loaded at wide receiver and the conference altogether, they need a lot more DBs. DBs and wide receivers. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to stop people or keep up. So, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done in New England moving into this next season.
Yeah, no doubt about that. New England they were a team that surprised a lot of people. You know, Mac Jones coming in, we had to talk on the show. Can Mac Jones win 7 games? Could he win 11 or 12 games? We really didn't know overall with New England. Again, no preseason predictions on my end from them. I probably would have guessed them around the same record as you, Fees. But you know, when you talk about the fact that they did come in this year and based on what was put in front of them, based on the talent they did or didn't have, based on the quarterback situation, I give New England an A at this point. I know they kind of backpedaled into what would have been a postseason run for them before running into the Bills. But Mac Jones got out of the bad throw business. New England's defense was still one of the best in the league. Bill Belichick was still one of the best coaches in the NFL. No question about that. So when you look at the fact that everything that was on the table for New England at this point in time, I mean, rookie quarterback, so much happened in the offseason, no vertical threat. You still obviously got an older coach in there who is defensive-minded, but is still playing well enough to get you into the postseason with enough of an offensive presence. Now we talk about biggest needs. And we've been saying it for so many years, Fees. It's a vertical threat, and another vertical threat. Now, I'm not even going to, go on here and kind of, pitch what I was saying earlier about a Teddy Bridgewater and a Tua, because I believe Mac Jones can have that big arm. He can throw deep. He can be accurate with that. But if you can get him someone out there, I mean, again, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are not going to be in Seattle. DK specifically, okay? Because Tyler got his money. Kind of unjustly to me because he's very inconsistent. You can even look at the fantasy numbers, the week-by-week stuff like that. But DK is still on an original deal. I know DK is a major guy. You can use him in multiple ways. He's very quick. He's very strong. You can bring in a guy like him. You can bring in potentially a tight end, someone big at the position that can be a vertical threat, play 25 to 30 yards down the field, because the AFC is loaded. Like you said, the Dolphins are loading up. The Bills are loading up. Look at the Broncos. Look at the whole AFC West. I mean, this conference, not even division, is not slowing down. You definitely got to go get a vertical threat for New England. Let's roll on over into the Miami Dolphins, new Tyreek Hill owners. Preseason, grades, and biggest needs. Let me have it, Fees.
Preseason, I was all the way out on the Miami Dolphins. I actually predicted that they would be 5-12 this season because I was looking at basically a massive Tua meltdown, especially with them letting go of Fitzpatrick and actually just turning the keys over to Tua. Wasn't really I had no faith in it at all. I mean, they rattled off a 9-8 season. So, I mean, it actually wasn't that bad. It was coming off of a 10-6 season. So they were expecting to see major growth out of Tua. They didn't really get that. I mean, they missed the playoffs. They started the season way too slow. So, I mean, that's their record and how that season went. They don't actually go hand in hand. They could have gotten a better grade had their season gradually progressed to 9-8, but they won 8 of their last 9 games to finish at 9-8 because they started so bad. So, I mean, because of that, I'm giving them a C on the season. Wasn't terrible, but you started so bad that you just could not actually pull yourself up by the bootstraps to make the playoffs.
Right.
And now the whole conference has gotten much harder. But, I mean, you had Jalen Waddle as a major bright spot. I mean, he came in as a rookie, got 100 catches, over 1,000 yards. I mean, that's definitely a bright spot. One of their biggest needs would have been more weapons, but guess what happened today? Tyreek Hill. So now you've got Tyreek Hill. You brought in a backup and an insurance policy in Teddy Bridgewater. So they addressed two of the big needs. Outside of those, they could use a more impactful running back. I mean, they don't really have many draft picks, so they're going to have to see who they can, they're going to have to try to make some trades. I mean, unless they really just find someone who drops really deep in the draft and they really get lucky on the running back tip. But, I mean, I think they've actually made some pretty decent moves. They just kind of made a slight regression, and I really hate it for Brian Flores that they were able to bring in Tyreek Hill and Teddy Bridgewater, and Tua's actually looking better because he's not going to get any of the credit for the turnaround that he made in Miami before he was unjustly kicked out the door. And now you've got his predecessor who's going to get the credit.
Miami. They, I think the craziest thing to me about Miami was how they won. You know, they were 10-6 season before and literally don't make the playoffs in the AFC because of how crazy the AFC is. Not only do they upgrade, but the AFC upgrades as well. The conference, the division, everything. No preseason predictions, of course, like I mentioned, but I do give Miami a C+ for this year. And let's just be real, you know, outside of the 10-7 season last year, Miami wasn't a whole lot. You know, years before they had a couple of runs, and we've seen some of the talent that's come through Miami, but it hasn't really been a bright spot in the NFL, you know, kind of like the Jets, kind of like the Browns. You know, we have seen what Miami has been thus far. So to give them a C+, I definitely do feel like that's fair. Because again, you know, they started off so rough. You know, what the hell was going on with Tua? He was getting pulled again. He was getting hurt. We didn't truly understand what was happening in Miami. And then they're walking in New Orleans, you know, beating us by a ton when we feel like they had no reason to. You know, they're putting up points. They're really cleaning it up on the back half of the year. And I think if Miami would have had just a little more time in front of them, they would have been able to sneak into the playoffs and, you know, potentially win a game. So I do feel like C+ is fair for them because, again, nothing really changed. They reverted back to the Miami that they were before. Again, with the Browns, people want to freak out because Baker Mayfield played good for 6 to 10 weeks, and the Browns won double-digit games. But what did they fall right back down to? Case in point, got to be consistent in the NFL. It means not for long, and you know that we've said that. Now for Miami's biggest needs. I still think they're in search for a franchise quarterback. Again, I love Tua. I like Tua a lot in college. You know, Pimp and Ken that called in earlier actually had told me that Tua wasn't a big game quarterback. We saw against Clemson when he absolutely fell apart. We've seen in the NFL with certain parts where it just doesn't feel like he's got the mechanics or the general football knowledge down. And, you know, as much as I want to see Tua take that leap, he's just unfortunately not showing enough. This is probably going to be his last year in Miami before he's dealt or for the Dolphins go make a big trade. You know, and I would have liked to see a bigger quarterback move instead of a Tyreek Hill, no question about that. But off of a franchise quarterback, more onto the O-line as well. It's a bad offensive line in Miami. They need more of a presence in the trenches, especially with a guy like Tua, especially with some of the smaller players that are going to need to get open on the team. You need time. Again, this is my thing. Tua Jalen, Tua Tyreek. You're going to need time for them to get open for those big shots, even if it's going to be quick. Do those quarterbacks have enough talent to get the ball to where it needs to be? Let's not stay too caught up on the Dolphins, though. We will roll over into those NYJ. Yeah, I don't like saying their name. Nah, I'm just kidding. The New York Jets. Tell me about them in the preseason fees. What is their grade, and what is their biggest need walking into next year?
That's a hell of a loaded question. My preseason prediction on the Jets was 2-15 because I was not sold on Zach Wilson. I was absolutely not wrong. They went 4-13 because there was actually one more game in the season than there was the last season. They're coming off a 2-14 season. They brought in Zach Wilson, who they were thinking was going to be the future, which if they tuned into Petty Sports, they would have known. I told them that that's not who they should pick, but I ain't mad at the pick because we get to play them twice a year. So, I mean, they got 2 more wins than they did a season ago. Wilson, he has such a long way to go after throwing 9 touchdowns and 11 interceptions in 13 games. Like, that's terrible. I don't care how bad this team is. 9 touchdowns and 11 interceptions in 13 games.
2,300 yards. Don't forget that.
55% completion percentage and only 2,300 yards with a 69.7 passer rating. Like, this was the most underwhelming season for a number 2 overall draft pick. Just for the Jets players, fans, and everyone, they're absolutely getting an F. It was a bad move to pick him up. I mean, clearly, there were better quarterbacks available. We've seen people progress. I I mean, if you're going to be in a situation where you've got a quarterback that you're not going to block for and you're not going to have weapons for, you should have at least drafted a mobile quarterback. You got a guy who throws 50-50 balls, and he don't have anybody to throw to.
Right.
We told you he was going to lead the league in interceptions, and per game, he was right up there. The only reason he didn't lead the league in the interceptions is because he didn't play all 17 games.
He had Mike White.
Yeah, Mike White.
Who actually got re-signed. He got paid this offseason.
Mike White is the only reason why the Jets averaged over 200 yards per game passing.
Right.
Because this guy,
Good
he
old
only averaged
Mike
179. I mean, 179 yards per game passing from a quarterback is what you would normally see out of a quarterback who runs more than he passes.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that we saw out of the early stages of Lamar. You used to see Cam do it sometimes. That was Dak when he first got into the league. That is not a pocket passing quarterback who you were oohing and ahhing over his arm, thinking that he was going to come in and transcend the franchise. I mean, as far as their biggest needs, they need everything. Like their team was just so bad.
Incoming Jets fans.
28th in scoring offense last season, dead last in scoring defense. So they couldn't put points on the board, nor could they stop anyone. This isn't something that can be fixed in a single offseason. So they're just going to have to choose a side of the ball that they want to improve, start and work there over the next 2 to 3 years to try to be respectable. This is a bad team, a bad franchise, brand new coach, brand new quarterback, same old Jets.
Yep. Grade for me for the New York Jets is definitely going to be an F. They don't have anything going right. The most I like about this team is Robert Saleh. He's clearly a great guy, awesome energy. We know what he did in San Francisco, but the big question is, does he have what it actually takes in order to lead this Jets team? And we understand picking Zach Wilson at number 2. Well, I don't understand picking Zach Wilson at number 2. I guess it's good for Justin Fields that he didn't fall into the arms of the New York Jets. But when you take a quarterback like Zach Wilson, who, like you've mentioned, Fees, and like we broke down last year in the draft, that he throws 50-50 balls. He is not a guy that's going to really read your defense. 9 touchdowns, 11 picks, 55% completion. That does not scream. I don't even know if that screams backup quarterback in the NFL. I mean, seriously, he had the durability issues. Obviously, with being small, just not understanding the game, not really having that experience or that time under his belt, especially coming from BYU in college over to the NFL in a cutthroat fan base like the New York Jets. I say all that to say I definitely do give them an F for this past season. And in terms of needs for this team, after them going 4-13, franchise wide receiver 1 for sure. I would say a quarterback as well, but let me stick to the wide receiver 1 for a second. Jamison Crowder's out of the house now. He is playing for Buffalo. Jamison Crowder was a major highlight of that team. I want to say Elijah Moore is also playing for the Jets as well. A lot of people were hype about him coming in, but is he a franchise wide receiver 1? I don't really think so. And other pass catchers outside of that don't really, jump off the page to me. Don't really feel like they're going to be that much of a major impact for a team like the New York Jets, and defense as well. Like you mentioned, horrible on defense. Fees. Where's the defensive presence? I mean, it was just so horribly bad. I mean, it's kind of funny to think that Jamal Adams actually used to play for these guys. Jamal Adams was really playing for the New York Jets. And once he got out, I mean, we saw everything fall apart essentially. So I'm going to say franchise wide receiver 1, any defensive piece you can get in the draft. And hell, you could have been aggressive as well and definitely went for a franchise quarterback reach, grab, whatever you want to call it in today's league. But that's going to wrap up today's episode of Petty Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely loaded show. Appreciate the 150 plus comments on the page. Appreciate the shares, the live viewers. I think we kept about 15 to 20 of y'all all night. Again, be sure to check us out on all social media platforms, YouTube every single day, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're 46,000 strong on there. We're coming back next week with even more content. Fees, take us out of here tonight.
Hey, we appreciate y'all as every week. We'll be back next Wednesday night. It's your boy Famous Fees. This has been another edition of Petty Sports. We appreciate the likes, the comments, the shares, the good words, the trolls, everything you got for us. Make sure y'all tune back in. We'll have new versus battles. We're moving on to the NFC. We'll decide which division later. Y'all let us know who y'all want to hear from. More trades, more football, and we'll actually talk about some basketball next week. We got you.
We out. Petty Sports will be back.